Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out!
Whoa!
Here comes Spider-Man.
We should all just give him one big hug. Oh!
Just watch us get content ID'd on that.
What's it
That'd be
called?
hilarious.
I know. Well, technically it's a cover, so they can with
Yeah,
fair
I
use,
just
you
want to
know?
give him one
Fuck
big
you.
hug.
Yeah,
I mean-
fucking YouTube.
Yeah.
My gosh.
God, with 8 hands.
I mean,
Sounds kind of hot.
Okay, so today we're talking Spider-Man. Spider-Man No Way Home, and heavy spoilers. And I know if you're questioning it right now and you're thinking, you know what? I don't care about spoilers, or I'll just watch it later, or I don't give a fuck about Marvel or whatever. Shut the fuck up, watch the movie, and then come back and listen to this, okay?
Yes.
I don't give a shit if you're a cynical anti-MCU asshole. Go watch the movie,
That's
okay?
me.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't spoil yourself. Have a good fucking
Guy
time.
with
Enjoy
8
the movie
arms.
theater.
Sounds kind of hot.
Completely agree. All right, so this film, what's it called? Ultimately, Sony released a new Spider-Man film around Christmas time, directed by John Watts, who directed the previous 2 MCU Spider-Man films, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, and ending it with Spider-Man No Way Home to end his home trilogy. He is, he started off his career as directing Cop Car and Clown. Cop Car, which I actually ended up liking a decent amount until he fucked up the ending quite a bit. And now he's going to direct Fantastic Four. So, it's pretty cool to see what he did with the trilogy. We're going to examine, basically Tom Holland's tenure as Spider-Man up to this date and how it compares to the previous, with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
It's been an origin story the whole time, and we had no idea. Holy shit. Here we go. We're getting into the actual meaty-greedy of the Spider-Man. I'm so excited, you guys.
Real quick, what is everyone's history with Spider-Man comics and films? Yeah. Like, have you guys read the comics before? Have you guys watched the films? Have you guys watched everything in theaters? What's your love and attachment to Spider-Man? So, what is everyone's history with Spider-Man comics and films? Also, do you guys watch them as a kid? You guys read any comics? What's your first history with it? What's your attachment to the character?
Blake, you're the biggest Spider-Man fan that I've ever met in my entire life. What do you think?
Well, Ron's being sarcastic because when he says cynical MCU haters, he's referring to me.
Huh?
I like Spider-Man a lot, though. It wasn't technically the first movie I ever saw in theaters, because technically I remember seeing like Bug's Life and Toy Story, but I don't remember actually seeing it. Like, I remember like people telling me I saw it. But like the first Spider-Man movie is actually the first movie I remember like walking into a theater with popcorn and watching with my dad. So I watched all the Sam Raimi movies, of course, the Andrew Garfield. I also remember I really liked the 90s Spider-Man show as a kid, the one where Harry Osborn has red hair. I always refer to it as that one.
Yeah.
I haven't really read the comics because I'm just not a comic reader, but I have a lot of, secondhand knowledge about a bunch of different various shit. And of course I've seen Spider-Verse, so I feel like I'm pretty well versed with Spider-Man. He's a fun character.
Like not reading comic books or anything nerdy or gory or anything of that kind? Surprise. No, we're just gonna push through. It's
Okay,
a
we're going to
regular
go through the
thing.
train.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
just
there's
gonna
a train
push through.
going on in the background, so that's
It's gonna
just
be a regular thing.
That's called the hype train.
It's like kind
So
of like
here we
that
go.
scene in that scene in Seven where Brad Pitt talks about like they just have to have sex with the train on every once in a while. It's us without Brad
Okay,
Pitt.
so I'll go. Spider-Man for me is always been my favorite superhero since I was a kid. It really is kind of like what Blake said. Like, I remember walking into the movie theater for the first time as a kid to see Spider-Man. It was the most hyped I'd ever been. It is the first time I remember being hyped for a movie. Like, it was the first time I remember specifically saying, no, I want to put on my Spider-Man underwear to go watch this movie. I was like about 8 years old when it came out, and it was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen at the time. It still stands by for me is probably is the perfect superhero origin film ever made. And it's just I watched the 90s cartoon. To be fair, I don't really remember that much from it because I only watched it like when I was young. And then actually I went back a little bit for the Disney Plus thing. And then I've seen like all the other Spider-Man movies, including Spider-Verse and all the live action ones and whatever. And I've had my heart broken, and I've loved them and hated them, and it's been a ride. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. For me, I've watched it ever since I was a kid. I read some comic books. Spider-Man when I was a kid. Yeah, but my first exposure was like I watched the first Spider-Man in Korea, and then there was it's surprisingly they were like really hyped for it. There's like
Because he's Spider-Man.
yeah. And then I was like, I was surprised that like they were right because an American superhero.
Yeah.
And then but there was posters, people dressing up. They're like, Spider-Man, Yogi wa Spider-Man. and then we watched it and it came out, and I just remember like kind of blowing my mind as a kid, right? Like just like I've seen. Ironically, this is not my first Sam Raimi. I think I've seen like parts of Evil Dead before with my uncle. So it's like, the Evil Dead guy, right?
This is when you're in single digits. And
Yeah, I know. I'm serious. It's like it's not. My uncle might have not been the best influence.
I disagrh.
What's it called? Yes. What's it called? So I was like, just curious to see what that type of guy would do with, with a Spider-Man property, and yeah, blown away. Absolutely. I mean, with the special effects at the time, still to this day hold up mostly because it doesn't use like faces. It's like just like the character models and stuff like that. It's not too distracting. Just the shots, cinematography, the sweeping, the sweeping camera, the Spidey cam they invented for the film.
The music.
Danny Elfman fucking kills it.
Unchallenged when it comes to Spider-Man music.
Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to watch any other version of Spider-Man because that original soundtrack is just it's just so fucking great.
Dude, it's so good. Dude, Danny Elfman kills it. Danny. Just make. I feel bad, Danny. What you've been done.
Yeah,
dirty.
which I mean, we'll get into what we think about the next Spider-Man films will be, but I really hope that they go in a different direction in terms of director and like whoever's doing the score. I want someone to come
Michael
in.
Giacchino. He's actually he's done better than the Andrew Garfield.
It's not bad.
I'll
say that.
Bum 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 bum. I don't.
Yeah,
that much.
It's going to be impossible for them to do something as good soundtrack wise.
No, I agree. It's like trying to tackle it's like trying to top Star Wars theme or fucking Harry Potter. Like they're iconic beyond it's there. That's what they are. But it's like we need someone who's gonna go in there and try to fucking challenge it and bring their own sound. And they did that for this trilogy. I'll say that. But it works for baby Spider-Man. But now this Spider-Man, he's a man.
Yeah,
now it's Spider-Man. So
he's
we need.
young adult.
Dude, he even got buffed up for this role too.
Yeah. Okay, well,
his pectorals are looking good.
Yeah, so it's like so Spider-Man, always holds a near dear place to my heart. Yeah, and I also watched a '90s cartoon. I've watched like almost all the cartoons.
Yeah, the one where Harry Osborn has red hair. Right?
Yes,
that had the best Venom adaptation maybe ever.
Yes, yeah, and I play some of the Spider-Man video games.
Venom goes to hell.
Yeah, and then and excited for Insomniac's new Spider-Man film, which has Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Venom, which is cool. And a Kraven the Hunter.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and then there's Andrew Garfield one, which I still watched in theaters multiple times, even though they weren't the best. But just because it's kind of like that event film is like even though they're like an abusive ex-girlfriend or something like that, you still go back to it because like the sex was so great.
Yeah.
Or you reminded of that one time the sex was great.
We should probably cut that.
No, I mean it's not. No, it's fine. Just keep. And then you're hoping, but it doesn't quite match up to the Toby.
Yeah, it's a very layered and complex.
Yes,
topic.
It's not even Andrew's fault. But yeah. So speaking of that, what is your favorite? Because it was previously portrayed on film by two other actors, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. What was your favorite non-MCU Spider-Man film from those eras, and what's your favorite from each actor, and what do you think each actor brought to the role?
So for me, I'll start. I like definitely Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man 2. Andrew Garfield was, I think he was great casting. I think he would have been perfect for the role, and I think he kind of proves it in this movie. But like,
I think he even proves it in those films, like to
an extent,
as best as he could, right?
Yeah, really, as best as he could. But I think Tobey Maguire just captures that like awkward, nerdy, kind of lovable dork that Spider-Man is at first. It's even then it's different from what I understand. Like Spider-Man first was in the comic books when he first has his origin. He's kind of like he's more like an angry nerd than he is like a lovable nerd. But in this, I think for Sam Raimi Spider-Man, it worked so well. Yeah, and he's like his whole like I'll get some of your Moondance coffee. He's just like an awkward dude who's just like fawning over Mary Jane.
Mrs. Watson, when
he tried to like read a poem to
yeah, and it's like you wrote a poem like that's so fucking nerdy, but like it
fits his
it works for him. Yeah, like he's beautiful.
Yeah, he's Ross of this universe.
Right? So I'll go with that one, and then Spider-Man 2. For me, it's got to be the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Yes. it's so good. I know like Into the Spider-Verse is up there for sure, but like it's just perfect. It encapsulates everything that is meant that a Spider-Man story should have. And most importantly, it has some like the biggest things of like him no longer just becoming Spider-Man because of the guilt or because of the pressure he has from other people, but because he chooses to, because he knows it's right and whatever. And it's got everything you want in a Spider-Man movie. Great action, good storytelling, perfect pacing, an awesome villain, and it's great. So yeah. Andrew Garfield, disappointing.
I personally, Spider-Man 2 is the better movie, but I think it might just be the nostalgia, but I really, really like the first Spider-Man 1 by Sam Raimi.
That was great too,
Yeah, fair. I love that one.
I love almost every aspect about it. I like Tobey Maguire, of course. The music, as we already talked about. I just think it's a great movie. And like Ron said, it's one of the best like superhero origin movies. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's something I can still watch to this day and just put on anytime.
Spider-Man 2, I got beat by my mom so much because of that. Because like after the Dr. Octopus, we watched it in Korea. Like that scene where
the horror scene.
Yeah, like the horror scene, or like when he, the sun in the palm of my hands, and he drowns the machine.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, like. Because I don't have like 4 mechanical arms attached to my back, but I pretended like I did, so I walked like that. And then my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And she got so in Korea, like it's what's it called? You don't want to embarrass your family in front of others. It's highly frowned upon. And so she just like slapped me. She's like, "You don't do that. Stop walking."
My God.
And then afterwards, I started trying to like go on all fours, and like it's a little kid, right? And then walk like Spider-Man. And then it didn't end well for me. But and so the fact that it just gives it away, I was willing to get beat for this film. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. After that, we Into the Spider-Verse. I think Into the Spider-Verse is a technical marvel on its own.
Absolutely, it's incredible.
But then
pushes the boundaries of animation.
Yeah,
it's great.
I think it's like they took like what 2 to 3 years, 4 years, to just like discover the animation style.
Yeah, which is kind of unheard of nowadays. Like usually they're just like, get that shit out, like crank it, dude, whatever. But this one, it's like you can tell how much passion and love they poured into this project.
There's a small little details like when a bagel hits like somebody's head, it says bagel boink. It's like in the way background, and I was just like,
that's great.
It's great. I'm excited for into the Across the Spider-Verse. I think that's what it's called. Part 1. Apparently, it's in part 1 and 2. It's like a huge epic story. Which,
we'll see what happens.
And I'm hoping it does well. I'm really hoping. I'm a little
it's gonna do well. I bet you anything, because it's like, okay, watching this film in theaters.
Yeah.
It's
you
like
never
it's
know
the
people.
biggest. It's the biggest cinematic event easily since like Endgame.
Yeah.
We showed up like, I don't know how, like kind of on time, and it was like the fucking parking lot was packed, and this was on a Friday afternoon. Like it was like 12 o'clock. We were turning the 12 o'clock showing. It was packed. There's people waiting outside, and it's like now there's reserved seating. You don't have to do that, but people wanted to get there early. I saw people there cosplaying. I saw a dude with like a little kid with the full blown Venom cosplay thing on his shoulder of like the symbiote's like head and everything. People love like
Spider-Man
dressed up. Yeah, it's like
around the world actually.
Yeah,
sadly, it's not getting the
second largest or the first or second largest superhero in the world. Like it's him and Batman are always battling it out. Like who's the biggest superhero?
You would think Superman was there? I mean, it was big for a while, but then kind of just like
Superman's not as fun as like these characters.
Yeah, the problem is that it's like Batman and Superman are so fucking tortured, and they get shit on so much, and they're relatable, and they're hard, and they have like just so much heart and stuff to deal with.
Batman is Spider-Man.
Batman and Spider-Man, yes. And then it's
like a weird alien god thing.
Superman does have a lot going for him too, but the problem is he hasn't been written well in a long time, at least in movies.
Yeah, his movies.
That's a whole other discussion. We're gonna talk about
so I mean, like, what's it called? I mean, for me, it's Spider-Man 2, and then Tobey Maguire. Yeah, I agree with you guys. He brings a lot of the adorable quality to there. I think he's the best Peter Parker, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then Andrew Garfield, like I said, and seeing after No Way Home. By the way, spoiler alert, they're both in the film.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield, you see that he actually can be the awkward Spider-Man, and also if you Tick Tick Boom, he can be an awkward, awkward
manic
individual,
weirdo.
manic weirdo.
Yeah.
Just like they weren't just giving him that in the film.
Yeah.
Those movies break my heart because, especially in No Way Home, you watch it and it's like, Andrew Garfield was perfect for this, and they just fucked him up. And I love how this movie almost feels like an apology to him in some places.
There's a lot of moments where you can very clearly see that they're poking fun at him.
Is it too early to talk about scenes from No Way Home?
Yeah, it's too early.
We'll get into
history after this. But I think Andrew Garfield, but he gets the quip and the energy right, and he also has like the best
suit.
Yeah, he does have the best suit, but he also has the best
Second
body.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the
Spider-Man
Yeah,
body.
he has the best Spider-Man body.
Yeah, he's got that like
with the
lanky,
look.
long, thin thing. It's like
Yeah.
Spider-Man is not supposed to be like super beefed up unless you see the 90s
Oh well, no,
comics.
yeah, it depends. He's either really beefed up or the lanky one. But I prefer
Yeah.
the lanky one
Yeah,
because it
me
feels
too.
like a spider.
Yeah.
But
he
watching,
looks like
technically
a-
spiders aren't like lanky. They
Yeah,
have
and he
the-
looks
they
like a
have-
nerd. Like the 90s cartoon, although it is like one of the best Spider-Man adaptations.
He's buff. as
He
fuck.
looks like a jock.
Yeah.
Like he's like, "Hey, what's up, Mary Jane?" And it's like, he could totally rival Flash. Like he's like chiseled jaw and everything.
Yeah.
It's like you're way too good looking and cut to be Peter Parker.
To be
So
fair, Andrew Garfield is like one of the most attractive men alive.
he is. He's very attractive.
Yeah.
And I think that was my issue with that Spider-Man is that they make him too cool.
Yeah,
like he's
yeah.
like skateboarding. He's like
really
a
cool.
he's
Actually,
like a
that's
nerdy
one of
dude.
the only scenes I liked in that movie.
He's like
was him
high-fiving
skateboarding.
Flash. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so that was my problem with the Andrew, especially Amazing Spider-Man 2. The whole point of the character that makes it interesting is that how he balances his dual lifestyle, right, with the superhero life, but also how that complicates his already messy personal life. And we talked over the phone on this.
Yeah.
And and that's where the character excels most. Like his messy personal life is the driving force of the character. With balancing that.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man 2, he's like super cool. Everybody loves him. He's high-fiving the fucking firefighters. And at the beginning of the film, where he's like, he swings in and he makes out with Emma Stone in front of like Gwen Stacy character in front of the entire Coliseum. They're like, yeah, woo! He's beloved, and he high-fives Flash, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like the cool kid now.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Like
what
everyone's
is
either
that?
supposed to not know who he is or give a crap or think he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's pretty much.
And he
what
dresses
should
like
be.
a cool kid in the second one too.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he even got less nerdy from the film to film, and I was like, okay. And what's it called? I get it. You have to take away his glasses. I actually thought maybe it would have been okay to keep his glasses on, like even though it's like for disguise reasons, just to hide the fact how good looking he is. Yeah, but. Yeah, and then I think that's where it really kind of fell apart for the Andrew Garfield storyline. And, the writing, overstuffing, the second film, they were trying to set up the Sinister Six storyline.
That was going to be its own movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Avi Arad, just really, he's
That-
one of the worst producers. I mean,
I was gonna say
to be
that's the
fair-
darkest timeline for the Spider-Verse, really.
Yeah.
Where that
another
Sinister
shame-
Six movie comes out and it's just dog shit.
Another shame was I really wanted Dane DeHaan to work out. I really liked
Oh,
Dane
me
DeHaan.
too. I like
I
Dane
really
DeHaan.
liked Dane DeHaan, and I was like, I remember when they announced him as Harry Osborn, I was like,
Good casting.
I was like, that's pretty good casting. And then the movie came out, and he's like a weird goblin thing, and he's like
Oh, that was
on
bad.
the glider, and I was like, oh no, this
And I
is
know
not good.
they had to use that like spider venom is how it just ruins the whole.
Yeah,
So
the
dumb.
way the way they kind of set up all the villains in his movies, and the Andrew Garfield movies too, is like the lamest possible way.
They all came from Oscorp.
They all come from Oscorp, and they all and the worst part too is I like how Dane DeHaan just kind of happens to walk in on the glider room, like if he had walked in the other room, would he have become Doc Ock? Like that's how
Yeah.
it feels in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just hate the Amazing Spider-Man 2. His dad's like, I have this disease that's been killing me for 30 years. You have like a week, figure it out.
Pretty much.
Or like that terrible scene where he like flies into Dane DeHaan's
Oh, he had goblin
room.
disease. Like he had the extra
Yeah,
long
yeah,
nails
yeah.
and stuff.
Or with that terrible scene where he flies into Dane DeHaan's room and it's like, "What's up? I can't help you. Sorry."
Yeah, and then of course what they did to Electro, which I'm sure we'll get into when we talk about
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah.
The revival of these villains, which
It's much better.
yes.
All right, and then and then now we get into Tom Holland. Before that, let's get into a brief history of Spider-Man. Is
Spiderman.
what's it called? And how he was portrayed in the past is live action portrayals specifically in both television and film. He first started off in 1977. What's it called? It's like a pilot episode for a Spider-Man film. It was weird. I don't know what they were thinking, and then they made a couple more like Spider-Man Strikes Back, and this came on so it's Spider-Man the Dragons Challenge. And they made a Japanese one, which was the best of the early before Sam Raimi ones. Spider-Man. And sometimes, oh gosh.
Which I think in the Japanese version, that was like the origin of like, what was it the Power Rangers and like the
Yes.
giant mech suit and stuff, which is
Yeah.
wild.
It's like-
like
it's
who would
not-
have seen that coming?
It's by Toei, but it's like, and it's not like good, but it's like so fucking entertaining and wild that it's just like fucking interesting to see. But eventually, the rights went to,
Sony?
Canon Films.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Canon Films, and they were trying to make it for the longest time, but just didn't really pan out. And then eventually it went to Carolco Pictures and MGM. They had the rights for a while, and they're developing with James Cameron, and that would have been interesting. Honestly, I honestly think
have
that would have been I still think that would have been good.
Yeah.
Because James Cameron
could've
is
worked.
James Cameron. You know.
Yeah.
He'll Cameron the shit out of it. But
Yeah, it's like, but again, it's so hard to imagine the first Spider-Man film not being directed by, or
Sam
not
Raimi.
having Sam Raimi's
And Danny
voice,
Elfman, yeah.
because he brings so much to it that is
yeah,
Sam
I think it's a
Raimi.
better choice.
Yeah.
Personally, but
He-
in alternate universe, I think that still might have been okay. Apparently, he said that's the one film he regrets not making out of all the films.
Really?
Because he said that's like he developed new technology and stuff like that. You know, he used that in other films. So
Yeah,
he's,
it would have been interesting, but I'm also glad it panned out the way it did. One last comment on Sam Raimi. Sorry, I love those movies.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
we're
the
gonna
thing
we're gonna get to that in a bit. Right
Okay.
now. Yeah. And one of the things that was kind of controversial about his version is that people will be cursing a lot, and Spider-Man and Mary Jane would have sex on the Brooklyn Bridge, and that was like super controversial.
Fuck.
And then also it's like there's a villain who tempts Spider-Man to joining a master race of mutants.
Okay.
And he has a hallucinatory nightmare that involves Francis Kafka's The Metamorphosis about the guy who suddenly turns into a giant.
Yeah, it turns
lion.
into a spider.
No, not spider.
Oh no,
giant
but I'm
insect,
sorry.
right?
I meant that they would turn him into a spider.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
here.
And it's
Yeah.
like it's so weird, but I would still trust him. But eventually, litigation happened, and there was a big rights issue, right?
Okay.
So as a result, what happened? John Calley, who was at MGM, he was like, you know, in a whole power move. It's like as he's moving to Columbia / Sony, he was like, "Bitch, let me take that Spider-Man," and he straight up like, you know, out bitched them all, in true Succession fashion, and he took Spider-Man for Sony, and he made an amazing deal. Like, it's like, you know, they just paid $10 million like upfront once, and like 5% of the movie's gross revenue to, you know, for the rights. That's it.
Wow.
That's insane. Like
I'm sure
nowadays, that would've
MGM,
been-
as it later lay dying, was like, oh, that
Yeah,
was
they fucked.
stupid. We gave away one of the largest superhero franchises of all time.
And if anything, the best producer, who's actually, I think, and when we get into history, right, she's actually like the low key undersung hero of the entire franchise.
Yeah, what's her
Laura Ziskin.
Good job, Laura.
Yeah, she's you know, she was a producer onto the film until Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, and she died, unfortunately. Yeah, she actually died before the film even like got released.
That's true.
Yeah, so she wasn't able to, you know, see how that passed on. And I know, you know, she might have fumbled Spider-Man 3, but I feel more on Avi Arad, in my opinion.
Yeah, fuck
He's
that.
made a lot of bad calls.
And it's funny, and it's, you know, it's a romantic story too. Like that's where she found her husband until her death. The screenwriter for Spider-Man 2, Albert, is like that's how they met, and then they were married until they both died.
Oh, that's
yeah.
beautiful. He died too?
Yeah, he died too. Yeah.
Oh my
God. So it's like, you know, it's a very personal story for them, and they had that personal touch to it. That I think was good, right? That's why when Amy Pascal and Avi Arad came, they were not that attached to the character. But when you have Kevin Feige come in, who is very close attached, like that's when you need a producer that actually understands the material.
Yeah.
That's why those, regardless of what you say in MCU films, they are very personal to Kevin
Yeah,
Feige.
and like talking about the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I forget the creator and showrunner of that show, but he was like the mega Spider-Man
Yes.
fan who had access to literally every Spider-Man comic ever made and would reference them and go through them all the damn time. So it's like, and I think for Into the Spider-Verse and shit, like you can tell that
Lord
like
and
Lord and
Miller,
Miller
yeah.
are Spider-Man fans, and they obviously have like a huge respect and love and admiration for the character,
Yes.
and it shines through.
Lord and Miller are the GOAT, by the way, for everything.
Yeah, they're great.
They left Soul at the right time. What's it called?
And Lego Movie too.
Yeah, it's the Lego movie. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they were like first movie dip, and what's it called? And they have like a million projects apparently.
Good for them.
What's it called? Okay, and now, you know, we get into our current timeline with Tom Holland, who portrays Spider-Man. The first time we, you know, in Civil War, Captain America: Civil War, that was a big thing. There was like after the failure of Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? So okay, well I guess when we I skipped over Raimi, but so yeah, it went to Raimi. He directed 3 films. They did.
Oh, you
relatively
skipped
well.
over Michael Jackson wanting to become Spider-Man. At
Oh
one
yeah,
point.
no, yeah, no, that is not important.
But yeah, we'll jump
Michael
over
Jackson
that.
also wanted to be Jar Jar Binks at one point.
Yeah.
Poor
What's
Michael.
it called? So you know, Sam Raimi. They got Sam Raimi after, you know, the success of his films with Evil Dead franchise.
Yeah.
And you know, they wanted to have his visceral energy to it. And you know, and obviously we know the success story. We already kind of mentioned that.
Perfect choice.
And you know, he absolutely killed it. And the third one, they fumbled. Avi Arad that's the first time he was a producer, actually. In
Interesting.
not that, like ever, but like in the Spider-Man franchise. Or actually, he might have been in Spider-Man 2, but not as much. But his involvement was increasing. In
I've
that
also
one.
seen a resurgence in love for Spider-Man 3. I've seen a lot of people like turn
Yeah, a
around
lot
and
of
say,
people
you know
have
what?
gone back.
It's
Yeah, they're like,
actually
you know
like-
what? It's
It's not as
Have you guys watched
bad.
the editor's cut?
no.
They actually like improved upon it enough, not amazingly, but like
Yeah.
like they added scenes like Sandman, he makes a sandcastle from afar
Yeah.
for his daughter. And they added
Oh.
more scenes with Sandman and his daughter.
Like what Sam Raimi wanted to do
Yeah, yeah.
initially was
There-
Like
focus
so
on
it's kind of
Sandman.
Sandman, and they have a little less Venom scenes. And
Thank God.
Well,
They
yeah,
have-
because that was Avi Arad, right? Like Sam
Yeah.
Raimi didn't even like know Venom and didn't want to do it.
Or I'm sure he knew. He just
Yeah,
didn't
he
want to
just
do
didn't-
it.
He
Yeah.
didn't find him interesting
He's
as a
not that
character.
into
Yeah.
that character.
yeah,
Spider-Man 3, I don't hate it as much as everyone else. There are like really cringy scenes in it, but there are great scenes too. Like I love the whole like Sandman thing with like I forgive you and everything. Like
Yeah.
there is good stuff in it. It's just kind of a clusterfuck famously. Like
Yeah.
there's just way too much and like it's because of Venom. Like I
Yeah.
think
Venom is the
if it
element.
had just been a movie about Sandman while Peter also balancing like
Yeah.
what's this Harry Osborn, I think it would have been a great movie. But
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
they
got a
could have
little-
had like literally. I think like, and also like there's like problematic elements. Like I really didn't like. I think it's just lazy when you have the amnesia storyline when James
Yeah,
Franco.
and from what I understand, there was also like originally he takes down what is it, Campbell? Damn, what's his name? Evil Dead guy,
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell as
Oh,
like
Mysterio,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
like Mysterio.
That was only
like he's
gonna be in
robbing a
one
bank.
scene,
Yeah, I
though.
know, but like just a little thing like that. He takes down like a vulture kind of guy or something
That
for
would've
Spider.
been
Oh no,
something.
sorry, I take that back. That was for Spider-Man 4.
Four, yeah, Vulture
Originally
was
he
in
wanted
there.
to do Vulture, which was basically what the
Vulturous.
MCU took that Vulture and made him into the new one. But yeah, sorry, I went off track. But
What
the
about
point is,
Sam
yeah.
Raimi? Did you give him a chance? Did you?
I'll say that, and then with the Sam Raimi one too. Also he wanted to make. He was like, there's just so much in the film that he was actually, and I thought that would have been the better choice. Is that fine? Like appease the producers and have the Venom like symbiote there.
Yeah.
But then but that ties in with the redemption storyline with Sandman, right?
Yeah.
So that ends with him forgiving Sandman, but also him getting rid of, or like he had done something to Sandman so terrible and almost unforgiving.
Yeah.
And he forgives him at the end. He rips off the Venom symbiote suit, and it would have ended with Eddie Brock getting
Yes,
the
that would have
symbiote
been
suit.
perfect. I think
Yeah.
that
And
that's
the second-
that's what
yeah.
I've always said is that it would have been fine to do the black suit, but like save Venom for a whole nother movie.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
an entire. He's a major fucking villain.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Eddie Brock, Topher Grace was
And
such a
he-
miscast.
yeah.
And if nothing else, though, as much as I would have loved to see like Sam Raimi's actual like devoted take on a Venom character, if he doesn't want to do it or if he's
Yeah,
not
then
feeling
don't
it,
do
it.
then don't
There's
do
so many
it, man.
villains. There's so many villains you could have done.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and he obviously cared about like he wanted to do Vulture, he wanted to do like
Yeah.
like Sandman,
and he
wanted to
did
all
do
these other people.
Sandman justice.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and it's a real shame that he wasn't just the main point of the film
Yeah.
as he wanted him to be.
Okay, well let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
get towards
what's it called? So
inching
now
our way
we could
closer.
talk about the Raimi trilogy. Honestly, one day we should just do a whole episode on the Raimi trilogy because I think that'd be fun. Like in its
Yeah.
own right, we could talk
Yeah.
about that for hours.
Yeah, yeah, and then eventually just a fucking amazing Spider-Man thing, and that one just is pain. pain.
Well, I mean, they're both films are, and we get into Andrew the Garfield ones, and they did it because Spider-Man 4 was canceled. Sam Raimi was like not feeling it.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, and then because financially, Spider-Man 3 was the highest grossing of the three, and because it came out. You guys remember that time in May where it was like Shrek 3, Pirates of the Caribbean 3, and
Yes.
Spider-Man 3 in like consecutive weekends. Everyone's like the threes. Yeah, and that was one of the biggest Mays ever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Shrek the Third was awful.
Yeah. Spider-Man 3 was. I mean, not Spider-Man 3. I mean, honestly, all three of those films were never great.
Yeah, neither of them were great. But I'd say like as at the time, like watching them and stuff.
was a fun
Like
summer.
Shrek 3 didn't I didn't really give a shit that much at that point. I was like, all right, that sucked, but whatever. Pirates of the Caribbean was like, I had a great time watching that
fun.
at the
It was
time.
fun.
Yeah. And then Spider-Man 3 fucking broke me. I was so mad. That was like the
Yeah.
first major disappointment in a film that I remember experiencing. Like the first Spider-Man was the hype, and then the third one was like the cynicalness in me was born, where I was just
Yeah.
like, oh,
and only for them to get worse.
Yeah.
Of that. And the weird thing with Spider-Man 3 is, in retrospect and stuff like that, it still has Raimi's, camera techniques,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
visual style, Danny Elfman's scores.
again, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
to love in it. And
And
in
even-
retrospect, again, but at the time,
Yeah, it was hard. No, I agree.
was
I was the same
hard.
thing. I was like,
Yeah.
everyone's like, this is cool, but something's off. And I watched it like 3 more times in theaters with other people and stuff like that. And I was like, oh gosh, what did they do to my poor Spider-Man?
He
But-
stinks, and I don't like him.
but it's with Andrew Garfield. Like, I'll touch on it briefly. Avi Arad and poor Laura. She passed away tragically, and the screenwriter, his name is Alvin Sargent, who Laura was married to, who wrote Spider-Man 2, and he came back to write Amazing Spider-Man the reboot, and that was a better one of the two. But his health was already declining, and he died, right?
Oh.
So I mean, he died in 91. Long life, but it's sad. It's all the key players were gone, and you had people who were just more corporate, corporate minded individuals. And Amy Pascal is not, she's a crazy person sometimes. I mean, she's smart. She's probably a good producer, but she should just not do interviews.
Yes, Venom is in the MCU.
Kevin
Feige's
like,
that was like so hilarious and like one of the greatest
yeah.
live meme moment where Kevin Feige was like, "I'm gonna kill this bitch."
Yeah. You see his face visibly move. Yeah. So, but and then eventually, there was an alliance between Marvel and Sony,
which apparently Sony was really pushing, and Amy Pascal was really trying to get Andrew Garfield to be in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like he was really trying to. They didn't want to give up on him, but also I think Andrew Garfield was pretty tapped out at that point. Like he came out later just how disappointed he was with what happened with 2. He's a huge fan. He was really devoted to the character. He really wanted to bring it to life.
Shits on the second film.
And he just like it broke his heart. Like he was like it fucking hurt to watch that movie. Like he says, watching it was not like watching myself. It was like. It was heartbreaking, and so which is one of the reasons why I didn't think. I know that everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna come back for this one," and I was like, maybe not, because I don't know if he would want to.
I
Like,
had that thought too. I was like, he might just be over this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that he wasn't.
Yes,
I'm honestly hoping that maybe in the future somehow they could incorporate that in some way.
do something.
Hoping
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But my first thought after this movie was, I really want to see a little bit more of Andrew Garfield
Yeah.
as Spider-Man.
yeah,
And not gonna lie, I mean, I'm glad they rebooted it because you would have to carry over the storytelling mess from those
Yes,
films.
yeah.
But in a weird way, like
It
in terms
worked
of that,
in this.
yeah, it
Yeah.
worked. But in terms of that character and the actor, I think he would have worked well amongst the chemistry of the other cast.
Yeah.
I could see him and Robert Downey Jr. having good chemistry.
Yeah.
But
would have been a completely different relationship,
Yes.
and ultimately, I'm glad they didn't.
No,
But
of course, yeah.
it's
I think it's the best thing. And so they got Tom Holland. I think it was like Billy Elliot or something. Like he's been up, and he was in Impossible. He was like this rising child actor, like acting prodigy, right? And he also could do his own flips and shit. Yeah.
It's like do a flip. It's like okay.
Yeah. And do you guys know that she threw a bagel at Kevin Feige, Amy Pascal?
Why?
When it suggested. So he was like, look, like when we work together, hey, look, I think what needs to happen is he specifically said this, I only know how to do it if I take over completely. Like I gotta just hand it over to me. Just think about it. You guys still have the financial rights, but I just wanted to have full creative control and I think we'll work better that way. And then apparently she got very pissed because he said like, what would have like Spider-Man in context, like he's always been in context of a world where he's the only special one, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when you put him in a world where he's not, right? He has to contend with the other super beings, right? And then his relationship with Tony Stark and stuff like that. And she was so mad she didn't listen, so she yelled at him, cursed at him, and threw a bagel at him. Yeah, with cream cheese apparently. It was in her autobiography. Cream cheese, and
He was like, hey, you're not very good at this.
so, but eventually she thought about it after throwing the cream cheese bagel, and she was like, "You're right. It's smart." And they teamed up, and then we got Tom Holland.
Great.
Yeah.
Great
And-
introduction for him as like little baby Spider-Man, and yeah.
Yeah, I liked him in Civil War a lot. It was
Yeah.
a good introduction. I wish that wasn't in the marketing campaign, but
Yeah, that would have been like
I
an
think-
incredible surprise.
I think you had to though, just for like because these films cost.
but could you
like, fucking
imagine
200
if
million.
Spider-Man just showed the fuck up?
yeah, like that would have been wild. And it's the same issue with this one, with No Way Home. Like,
well, I mean,
man.
that's because of leaks and everything.
Yes, I know. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way
That
that
would've
they
been
could.
impossible
It's
to-
impossible in
yeah.
2021 for them to keep such a huge secret under wraps. But
Yeah.
if they had, like, it would have been like such
Well,
a
the
next
thing
level.
Is, it's only like the
thing.
1 to 5% of people that like actually go. Actually, there's a lot of people on Reddit.
Yeah.
But then like for the average moviegoers, like the people like the moms and pops to be like, oh my god, what the heck?
Yeah,
For-
like I was like on set recently with people who were like, "Oh, I didn't even know there's a new Spider-Man coming out." And I'm like, "How is that even possible?"
that's
But-
weird. That
yeah,
part's
they're like,
weird,
they're
not
like, "Oh, there's a
knowing.
new one." Yeah, I'm like, "Yes." Like, what the fuck? Like, how out of touch are you, man?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even know.
Wait, that one's weird actually. That
Yeah, I was like,
actually
that's
weird.
like that seems like impossible. But there are people who just aren't keeping up with the leaks and with like speculation and shit. So, yeah.
To be fair, when I did see the promo for this movie, I thought it was actually a Doctor Strange movie. I thought that it was a preview for Multiverse of Madness. So
Okay. Yeah, but so it's like it's one of those things. It's just like it's like you wish we lived in a world where this movie could like they released a teaser. We all know people are gonna go watch it because it's Spider-Man, and then you go into it and then just like have your mind blown. But yeah, This is 2021.
Somehow, Dr. Ock has returned.
So what do you guys think of Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man? They went with the pure high school route. He stays in high school. He's obviously younger one, and he's like, you know, the mentor relationship with the mentor-mentee relationship with Tony Stark. And you know, there have been some complaints that, you know, he's not a self-made Spider-Man film. He's Tony Stark Jr.
Iron Lad Jr. is
Yes.
what they call him on Reddit.
Yeah.
I think it works really well in Homecoming. I didn't like it as much from Far From Home. I think this movie kind of corrects it, though.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's like pretty much the same thing where it's like I understand a lot of the criticisms. I get it because this is like the MCU Spider-Man. They went in a very different direction than all the other ones, and I think that was the right choice because we have already seen Spider-Man 2 other, like, you know, origins. We've seen 2 other versions of him. So it would have been pretty tiresome to have him, you know, go through the bite and Uncle Ben and the whole thing again. And ultimately, I'm so glad they didn't go that route. But I do get it when people are like, yeah, he just seems like he's just Iron Lad, whatever. Like, it's like he's so reliant on other people. Like, I want to see Spider-Man doing his own thing. And it's like, I think we're definitely going to get that now, which is great. But now we have this beautiful backstory and everything else that has led up to this
origin story.
Not even
great.
just the 3 films, but all
Also, like,
the
the
Civil
MCU
War,
stuff
and
like
the
that.
2 other Avengers films. It's like now he's been so fleshed out. You know his relationships and his gripes and everything that he's gone through, and it's really built up to this great ending of his trilogy. And you know, now the future is bright. Who knows what could happen?
Or dark for him.
I agree.
I mean, it's
personally-
fucking dark for
Yeah.
him. This is a very dark ending. This is like
Yeah.
the most dark ending since like
It's great for fans, but
Yeah.
it's dark for
yeah.
It's for me personally, I never had a problem with it because it's like it just made story-wise sense because like of, you know, just like the way it works and Tony recruited him and it's part of the MCU, right? Like it's just like it would be weirder if Tony Stark wasn't involved.
Yeah.
And also he's like a kid, right? Like they make him very like naivete in the first 2 couple films. And, you know, slowly chipping it away with Vulture. Because you see Vulture, he's like, you're a bad guy, even though he's like trying to support his family. And then like, and I love the growth. Like, you're a bad guy. Second one's like, you know, we could be friends, Mysterio, but bad guy. Third one's like, wow, you know, let's try to help them. Right. And you see that growth and progression and how his attitude changes, which I liked. And I just thought it made it made sense with his mentor and mentee. And you know, he was just from a young age. So after Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm like, okay, it like kind of justifies the other 2 films in a weird way, right? Like we wouldn't have got this film without the setup from the other 2 films. Kind of like you wouldn't get Return of the King without The Fellowship and Two Towers. I mean, the quality's very different.
Yes.
But I feel that way. It's really cool. I know there's some, you know, weird quotes from Tom Holland's like, you know, I don't know if I could play Spider-Man past 30. Shut the fuck up. You've been signed for 6 more films. Don't try to openly barter.
I think they should give him a break. Give him like 2-3 years to just kind of like not do a Spider-Man thing for a little while. Just don't let him come back to like, I don't know, maybe the next Avengers movie or whatever that comes out. I don't know how
I
long
think
away
we should
that
probably get
is.
another Spider-Man movie before we get another Avengers movie, though.
the next Avengers
for
film
sure.
won't come out for a while.
yeah,
okay,
especially given the ending of this.
Yeah, so for this one, I think they should just go off for a while. I mean, we'll get into speculation at the end, but
it won't be like 5 years. Like Sony's like it's gonna be like 3 years max.
Yeah, 3 years, which even then, that's fine.
That's fine.
Give Tom Holland a break. Give them all like just like
Let him go do his Uncharted movie.
let him do some other shit.
He shot that apparently like back to back with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Poor guy must
So
be
of course
exhausted.
that's like, and also I think that's when we get into criticism. I think that's why certain shots are just singles and not wide shots with all 3 of them.
Oh,
Yeah, because and that was my problem with editing and whatever and what the shots were doing.
okay.
So yeah, now we get into No Way Home 2021.
Here we are, people. Okay, so if you could have skipped forward to the end of the video, if you just want, or skip forward to this point in the video just because you're waiting to listen to this
No Way
review.
Home.
You
here
should
we
have said
go.
that earlier.
Yeah, but it's what's it called? There's gonna be timestamps. So
Yeah, we'll
you'll
have
be fine.
timestamps in the video,
Yeah.
so
If
just
Jason decides to put them.
please,
No,
Jason,
well,
do that.
It's fine. We could you can always just add timestamps later. Like we could hear it and just edit in the description. So that's fine.
We'll put notifications.
So let's get into No Way Home. So after the tragic death of Mysterio in Far From Home, Spider-Man has been framed for Mysterio's death and the chaos that happened by Mysterio's actions. And his identity has been revealed to the world, and courtesy of J. Jonah Jameson, who, by the way, that was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Far From Home happened.
J.K. Simmons reprises his role fabulously.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, I love J.K. Simmons.
He's vigilante.
And then
He was a hero. I just couldn't see it.
and I like that in this film. Like he's not just a cameo. He's like there throughout the film.
Yeah. Like you think he would have like a meteor part of the story, but I think they used him well because again, there's so much else going on that like you can't really afford more time to him.
Yeah, and by the way, J.K. Simmons, what a beast in interview. He's like, yeah, I don't even know, like, because he already shot scenes by this point. So I don't even know if I'm gonna be in the next film. We'll see. You know, what I mean, if I'm there, it might just be like a glorified cameo, and then this film happened. Everybody was on their A game when it came to interviews. Yeah, and then so and then his life's been turned upside down. They rejected their MIT or basically all college applications. Him, Ned, and MJ's life are in disarray. So he goes to Doctor Strange, who now we find out is not the Sorcerer Supreme anymore.
Yeah,
it's a Wong,
out of
which
a
is
technicality.
which is fucking hilarious. And asks him to do. I think it's not the Kafka or Kaka or what's the other
Something like that. Yeah.
or what's it called?
Basically wipe everyone's memory of
spell.
him, or at least of knowing who Spider-Man is Peter Parker or whatever.
But Spider-Man botches the spell, or technically Doctor Strange does, but Spider-Man constantly just is changing requirements. They're adding requirements to the spell, destabilizing it, and as a result, we have the multiverse Spider-Man film.
Yeah, some tears in the fabric of reality that allow other villains or people who know who Peter Parker is spilling
I
into
love Doctor Strange's
the MCU.
line. He's like, "This could have fucked everything up and destroyed the universe, or worse, Wong could have found out."
I know. Let's go. Him and Wong's relationship. I love.
I really like how their relationship has been going like throughout these
I
films.
like Wong, dude. Wong's like the unsung hero
Dude,
of the
Shang-Chi,
MCU.
remember like after he beat up he's very much
Abomination.
like his how it should have ended version of his character.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the how it should have ended Avengers Infinity War?
Yeah.
Where he just opens up a portal and cuts off Thanos' arm. He's like,
Yeah.
Wong!
Yeah.
And Shang-Chi, after he beats the Abomination, he's like, yeah! He puts his hands in the air.
Which I guess apparently they said, like, I think Kevin Feige, I think he commented on that eventually, like, why didn't Wong just do that to cut off his arm? And he's like, basically Thanos' skin and everything is just too tough. It wouldn't have cut off.
But that's bullshit because in
we'll get into what happens in What If.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah. I think
they make Thanos as such a little punk.
I'll say this. They probably just said that because Kevin Feige is a master manipulator. And he probably just thought of it on the spot, but reality
Yeah, he
is they
probably just thought that
said,
because somebody asked him a stupid question. He's like, because fun is allowed.
Yeah, because I don't know. Do you want a fucking
That's
movie?
like
or do you
what's the famous thing where someone asked George Lucas what color Yoda bleeds, and George Lucas is like, green.
So the point is, stop asking stupid fucking questions.
Yeah. So
Just enjoy the movie.
Thanks.
I agree with that. And then, so it's ultimately, this film came out. It's already taking the world by storm. It's estimated $200 million opening box office weekend, which is insane. That's already like the entire box office of Shang-Chi, which was I think the highest grossing domestic film up until this point. Domestic, worldwide is No Time to Die is the highest grossing non-film from China. Yeah, because China's cheating. Because I
was disappointed Bonesaw wasn't one of the villains in this.
honestly,
I got you for 3 minutes.
It's
3 minutes of criticism.
I bet you if Bonesaw appeared just as a cameo,
People would have came in their pants.
Oh my gosh!
There were definitely a few occasions where it's like, okay, the fan service is it's crossing over a bit too much here.
You were talking about I'm a bit of a scientist. I was okay with that personally.
Yeah, I was like,
It
that was
Willem Dafoe.
Something of a scientist myself.
That was one where I was like, okay, at least it works with the plot of the story. You know what I mean? But
or how Doc Ock's walking around going, the power of the sun.
He said that twice.
In the palm
he
of my
says
hands.
it twice, which I was like, one time I can forgive it. 2 times I was like, that was dumb. But
I was okay with it because his
that's his whole thing.
Yeah, his whole thing. And he's also mentally so unstable at the point.
Which one I thought was a little bit cringy but it's kind of funny, was Doc Ock going, Peter, that could not be your girlfriend, which of course is a huge meme.
Yeah, I know.
And I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we're going into No Way Home.
No Way Home. Personally, what are your thoughts and opinions of the film?
Personally, I was so sitting there just cross-armed, okay, don't mess this up. Let's just watch this damn movie. I'm like, please just be good.
I thought it was gonna be good because the reviews came out, it was 95%.
Yeah,
and stuff like
I know, but I'm always really iffy when it comes to Marvel reviews afterwards. I know, whatever. They only get like the people's critics, like whatever. The point is, I was like trying not to think about that. I was like, let me just watch this movie and just really try to think of it for myself, like how much I don't like it. But it's like it's just so many factors came into play. Like it's just like I don't know. I feel like they did such a great job of like incorporating the characters, like the villains, having it feel like it was Tom Holland's first like real outing as a Spider-Man. Like this is him on his own for the most part. I mean, they do have like, you know, like I felt like they did a little bit too much of like MJ and having Ned there, but in the end, it actually felt even better.
I think it panned out because like all that paid off at the ending.
Exactly. I was like, at first, I was like, man, I wish that they weren't helping out so much because I feel like I want Tom
Spider-Man
to be doing this
more
himself.
stuff,
But in the end, when it's like they're no longer going to be part of it anymore, it's like, man,
it makes the heartbreak even
it
stronger when he
hurts
has to
even
go by
more.
himself.
And again, like you're seeing MJ being hurt afterwards, and him deciding not to tell her. It's like, fuck, dude. I was like, this
People were
reminds me of
tearing up in that
the
theater when
first
watching it.
Spider-Man movie when he walks away from MJ after he finally gets what he wants,
Yeah,
but he
I'm assuming that's
realizes
like a
he
direct
can't.
nod to that.
Yeah, right. And I was like, perfect. I was like, that was great. Again, like the way that they incorporated the villains, the way that they had like Andrew Garfield's character, they gave him some fucking satisfaction.
Yes,
like,
that was my favorite part of the movie.
Like it was just like it felt like a great redemption, and it
Oh.
didn't go into a lot of the fears I had for this movie. Was the villains just showing up to be punching bags and just quoting shit, and then that was it. It's like, no, they showed up and they had purpose.
Yeah,
It
they had
felt
purpose, and they were there for a while too. The whole point is to further the character
they
development.
had arcs, and it's like, what? Like Tom Holland, like his character Spider-Man, he had his again. It's like, to be Spider-Man, it sucks. Like for so many reasons. Like there's just, he deals with loss. His life is always falling apart. He feels like he's fumbling shit. Again, that's what's so great about Spider-Man 2 is that like everything is just shitting on him constantly. And this one, it felt like again, it starts off and it's a little too goofy for me at first. It goes into jokes, and I was like, oh man, I was hoping this would get more serious, and it's like, it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I do like that the jokes compared to the other MCU films.
Yeah.
Like as much as I really like Shang-Chi and what that did with you know martial arts and you know Chinese fantasy films.
Yeah.
But that film had a terrible balance of jokes and drama. When this one is a lot better. I still don't think it's perfect.
Yeah, there were again a few instances where I was like, I really wish you hadn't undercut it with humor there. I wish you played it a little more straight. But like, yeah, like again, there's the one moment that from the trailer that legit like it triggered a little bit of nerd anger from me was when they have Doc Ock in his little prison, and then they're like, "What's your name again?" And he's like, "Dr. Otto Octavius," and they giggle and shit. I'm like, hey,
what a disrespect!
I know. I'm like, show some fucking respect, all right? That is Dr. Octopus, you little bitch. Like that dude, you're not snickering at his name. Your name is Spider-Man. Like I don't know.
That scene in the trailer did not play. That scene you're talking about did not play well in the theater.
No,
a couple people were boo.
Yeah,
they booted.
Yeah, silence, crickets. Nobody was giggling at anything, and I was like, that just
it's not
felt
fun
weird.
to poke fun.
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. It's like I get it. Like people are like, these are silly comic book characters, right? You want to be like to poke fun at them, like ribbing. It's like,
A couple people laughed in my theater.
but also you gotta
they
like
suck. They're the worst theater. You went to Harkins, right?
You gotta also play.
No,
You have to be able to play it straight.
I have the fucking A-list thing.
Yeah.
You got to be able to play it straight. You got to be able to like if you keep poking holes in shit like that, then that's when it like kind of falls apart. But no, like they don't. But whatever. But the most part, that was really where it gets nitpicky for me. Where it's like that's like little moments like that like bugged me, but not nearly enough to really take away from my enjoyment of the film overall. Like
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's overall the balance I think it's the best of the especially
Of the home trilogy.
the home trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean they've always been jokey, so it was fine for them to do it. It never bothered me in the Spider-Man films, but this one was better. It's still moments like that, and I do like the fact that when it gets dramatic, it's almost completely commits to you know those scenes. Like I'm glad that there was no joke crack during Aunt May's death. Can you imagine?
Oh,
that would have just been a travesty.
Yeah.
It's and I'm hoping in the future they improve the balance better. I don't know if they will because it's like I don't know how much they can improve the balance because they have this formula they worked out of like these amount of laughs per minute will get us a certain box office dollars. And look at the results. It's like you can't blame them.
I actually did like all the stuff with Happy in the beginning, where like they're like,
oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I was like, and I remember thinking in the theater, this is pretty good for like terrible MCU humor. like when Happy's walking in and they're like breaking up and like all this chaos is happening and Happy's still trying to like talk about the relationship, like the fucking like the there's like cops outside, all this chaos, and he's still.
It
just
probably was
like,
the best thing for Happy because he was able to trap Aunt May in his apartment afterwards. And by the way, Jon Favreau, like, I'm surprised he's in this film so much considering all the shit he's working on.
Yeah, and he's not. I don't think they overuse him either, which again I'm really happy with because I really liked Homecoming, but like I felt like sometimes again they kind of it was a bit of a crutch sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with what Ron's saying, especially at this regard where it's like I do feel like my biggest problem with the other two movies has been it feels like Spider-Man. Like the thing you like about him is he is kind of like always down on his luck, right? Like, and that is what Spider-Man 2 does so well. Where he's just trying to go to this fucking theater show, and Bruce Campbell won't let him in, and it's because he's Spider-Man. I feel like in Homecoming, you just always feel like he could just call up Tony Stark, or in Far From Home, he's got Happy on his side. Like, this is the first time where it really does feel like he's alone. And ironically, this movie sets up a more interesting trilogy, I think, where I do want to see Spider-Man like poor living in an apartment. Like,
yes, it's like it's a beautiful thing where it's like again,
it's a callback to the first Spider-Man film. Like that apartment looks very similar to
Mr. Dinovich.
Yeah, honestly, I was expecting him to show up at that point. I was like,
that
is he
would
gonna
be
be
hilarious.
he just pops up. He's like, rent is due at the end of the month. Like, you know what I mean?
Like
Like
the rent when he fixes this damn door.
Have you guys seen the memes of like Tobey Maguire in the MCU?
No.
And then there's like one where like, oh, when are you gonna pay my rent? And it's basically his face imposed on Thanos, and he's snapping away at people and stuff like that. Or Tobey Maguire kills Thanos, and like he sits down after you realize, oh, he can't pay the rent on time, so he gets dusted away.
Can you imagine Tobey Maguire going up against Thanos? That'd be hilarious.
Oh, that'd be fun. His back would get broken in 2 seconds.
But yeah, no, like it's like what I
That's
love
a cute
is that
gauntlet. Did you sacrifice your daughter for it?
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. What's it called?
oh, little sad Thanos, you gonna cry?
Thanos is ready.
No, but like like it's those complaints that people have had for it, which I understand and I agree with to like a good extent, is like that he always had everybody else behind him. It's like you strip everything from him. I love it at the end of the movie. He's literally he's in a little shitty apartment. He's sewing up his own suit. He doesn't have the technological armor anymore.
My favorite part of the movie is him. He's classic Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, he's studying for the GPA or
GED.
GED, sorry. And he doesn't have a scholarship. He's probably gonna have to get some shitty part-time job. He's on his own. He doesn't have anybody to fall back. Yeah, it's like he is now Spider-Man.
And if anything, having 3 films of that setup, and then it makes the fall so much more dramatic.
Yeah,
much more painful.
It's like you've never seen a Spider-Man, even this alone, because all the other Spider-Men have had at least Aunt May to like fall back on, or a Mary Jane that they're like,
he has no one.
or at least not Andrew Garfield.
I guess he has Happy Hogan, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, it's like he could maybe reach out to him, but Happy's just like, I don't know who you are. Like he doesn't have any connection to him anymore, other than they both knew Aunt May. Yeah, like that's it. But again, it's great. I
was gonna say, and I'm actually glad we're going back to just a regular suit because I know everybody likes these movies, but I've always kind of disliked the Iron Spider suit. It's always just felt like, this feels a little like too Iron Man-y for me. I know some people really like it, but I don't know. For me, it's always taken away that I like that Spider-Man's kind of basic. He's got his web shooters and super strength. It's super fun.
Yeah. I was okay with it because it just made sense for the stakes he was in. Like if he went to Thanos with his homemade suit, he would die instantly.
Yeah. Like I get exactly. Like I think that like for like Infinity War and stuff in Endgame, totally makes sense he would have his Iron Spider suit because it's like he needs that extra help. He's not nearly as experienced. He's a kid who's like fighting gods. Like
and it would be insane that Tony wouldn't give him like a piece of fabric.
Exactly. So like for that it was forgivable. I do understand more of the criticisms when it comes to like Far From Home and like Homecoming.
Well, I guess in Homecoming it's a plot.
No, Homecoming.
Homecoming. I think
my favorite part is when he uses his shitty suit at the end.
Yeah. So like again, I get that, and I think it's again more understandable, and I get it for like Far From Home when he's got the suit and stuff, and it's like you kind of want to see him a little more stripped down, which he does at certain points when he has like the night monkey.
Yeah, the night monkey.
Yeah, so like that's cool. And in this one though, it's like it's just everything's just getting chipped away at him more and more. Literally, his Iron Spider suit is getting chipped away as he's like losing it, and he's like kind of having to go back more to this basic shit where he's just like he's got to do it more on his own until he doesn't when the other 3 show up and
and I don't know. I think that. Sorry, one last criticism of the Homecoming trilogy.
That's fine.
Which I don't hate, by the way. I like the first one and dislike the second one for context. I feel like, part of the reason why I really like the Sam Raimi movies is I feel like you really see the motivation on why he wants to be Spider-Man. Like, I think Tobey Maguire is easily the most tortured Spider-Man, where it's just like, Spider-Man's ruining his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like him being Spider-Man is actively fucking his shit up.
And you totally believe why he walks away from it.
Yeah.
But also you see why he is Spider-Man, though. You really see the reason why he devotes his life to this. I feel like in the Tom Holland, there are parts where I just don't see why he is Spider-Man.
Which I get that criticism, and if it wasn't for this film, I would have completely agree with you.
And
But
I think that this movie actively kind of gives him a reason. So,
Right.
like I said, this movie actually sets up a more interesting trilogy with him.
yeah, and it also recontextualizes the entire trilogy where he wasn't really even Spider-Man. He was just a kid with Spider-Man powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he never understood the responsibility. He didn't even have the line, great power comes with great responsibility.
Yeah, he has his like line, which a lot of people joked about in Civil War, where he's like, "When you have good power, you have to give the responsibility to be able to do good things." It's like they try so hard not to do with great power comes
Are
great
you talking about Amazing
responsibility.
Spider-Man 1, right?
Yeah, the Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
In Civil War, he has that line. Although they do that in Amazing Spider-Man as
Yeah,
well.
the voicemail
But
thing.
everything
they-
comes, no, it was Martin Sheen who says, it's like there's responsibility, and he does that finger little.
Wasn't
Yeah.
that in the voicemail, though? Like, when he's, like, at the very end, he's listening to, like, Uncle Ben's last voicemail.
And that might have been Amazing Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
But the first one, it was
Oh.
like remember after he let Aunt May just walk home alone at night, and they had a big argument, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "We're great," one thing that your father says is that responsibility. He's like, "Well, where are they now? Where are they now?" And he slams his door
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
It's like this one, they did it again perfectly. I never expected Aunt May to tell him that line, and they do it so well because
yeah.
right after she dies, which we have to get into the villains, okay? Because they're done so well. I was so scared they were just gonna show up to just do whatever and just whatever, and that's just gonna be throwaway like little lines and just like, hey, remember Green Goblin? Remember Doctor Octopus? Remember Lizard and Sandman and Electro? It's like I was so nervous that they were just gonna do that shit, but they don't. They show up early enough. And they all have like arcs and interesting conversations with each other, and they actually kind of team up with Spider-Man. At a certain point, he convinces them like, "Look, I'm going to try to send you home, but I don't want you to die." And that's Spider-Man. That's exactly what he would do. Like almost any other hero in the MCU would have been like, "Sorry, you're going home. I don't care if you die." Doctor Strange, again, very in line with his character. He's like, "They're going to die. That's not
their
our
fate."
problem." Yeah, it's like that's their fate.
And he was
We're
like,
gonna move on.
and you see like kind of this push and pull. Like one of the good things in writers is that like especially for mentee type of characters is that like you need to have two different type for audio only listeners. Somebody farted. I won't name.
I
who.
farted.
What's it called? If only we had a microphone up his ass. That would have been great. Is that like a lot of mentee type of characters? It's a writing thing where you have two different type of. Not necessarily mentors, but two different characters that pull the character between two sets of values, right?
Yeah.
What's it called? For Aunt May is the altruistic, sets of values that she's trying to pull Peter to.
Yeah.
And for Doctor Strange, he's more in the Machiavellian sense where the end justifies the means, and he's trying to pull him towards that set of values.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like that's like good writing. And by the way, brief shout out. One of the things I think this trilogy is one of the most consistent ones. As much as I love Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi ones, like the third one wasn't as because obviously the third one is the third one.
Yeah.
Obviously, the third one is
the
the third one.
Yeah, because it's like I don't want to get into it more because like that's a whole thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like everyone knows Spider-Man 3 is Sam Raimi films. And I still like them in a weird way. Is that they had the same two writers, except the first one had like 20 different writers, but these two writers were there for all three films. And the last one and this one is only them two. It's Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. They wrote American Dad, Community, but in their film work they did the Lego Batman movie, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all the MCU Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
So,
Ant-Man
like-
and the Wasp definitely being the weakest.
Yeah, that is definitely the weakest. But like
It's the only MCU movie I haven't seen.
it's like
That's fine.
you could feel, and also having the same director for all three films.
Yeah.
which is like kind of rare for
MCU.
Marvel, yeah.
Yeah, outside of like James Gunn.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he almost got fired at one point.
he
should
we
get fired,
almost didn't
yeah.
complete his trilogy, but
That would've been
he's come
sad.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's and John Watts, and I trusted John Watts, even though I'm kind of sad. We'll get into technical stuff. Like, I think like he hasn't excelled in that department, the visual department, and if anything, his promise he made in his debut film Cop Car, which I guess what's it called, one day we'll watch. in the first 20 minutes, it's like, it's a lot of longer takes, a lot of just ambient noise, and it showed like promise, and it wasn't amazing. It was overhyped. I'm surprised that guy. I was like in my mind, I'm like, that guy got Spider-Man, but okay. It's kind of lost in these films, but overall, I think he understands the character really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my biggest criticism is actually I feel like the final fight scene isn't shot that well. Specifically when they're all like on the Statue of Liberty. I remember like thinking like this could look a little better.
Yeah, I agree. I
agree.
think it looked pretty good. I think
Anything
just the
with
visual
all
effects,
visual effects, it looks good because that's like not
Yeah.
really his department because that's like.
But there was a few
watched it-
shots where it looked wonky.
I watched this movie with Jeremy, and he's like, you can tell that they pulled a lot of the effects and money from like Shang-Chi and Black Widow for this movie because they're like, we're gonna do this movie right. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna have to try to do that. And I think I do like the nightside battle scene. I love that when they're on the Statue of Liberty. I don't know, that just feels so like perfect for Spider-Man. Like him fighting in New York and everything is great.
Yeah.
But this big set piece being on the Statue of Liberty is great. And when they're on the crown, I was like. I leaned over and I was like, "This is the part where Wolverine and Sabretooth."
That would have been great.
But like, it was just great. Like, I like they had it. I thought it was a little weird. They had the giant Captain America shield, but whatever.
Yeah, I probably I get that. in
I
MCU.
understand why they would do it. Like,
MCU.
they're gonna have a
Tobey
giant
Maguire
tribute.
and like Andrew Garfield be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, they probably would have. Yeah. 'Cause they were like, when we get into like,
We'll
they were
get
like
into
the
their
Avengers.
we'll get into their
yeah.
conversation and everything.
But then, yeah, I think like back to the villain stuff, right? Like I didn't have the same concern you did for the film because look, it's Kevin Feige. Honestly, the only films, even Eternals, which was like the only rotten reviewed film of the of the franchise, I enjoyed to a certain extent. It soured every day as I think about it. But he knows what he's doing with these characters. He knows, he's very passionate. He won't let these movies be god awful. Like he has such a firm grip on like all his productions. And also John Watts has proven himself, and he's like technically, at least on a technical sense, gotten better with each film.
Yeah, he's evolved.
Yeah. Not. I wish more, but this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like Homecoming, I liked it more than Far From Home, but it's definitely visually weaker.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just very
yeah.
like flat looking.
And then also that one dramatic scene where he has the building on top of him in Homecoming, and then like he just pushes it up, but just focuses on his face, but you never see like a wide shot, like a basic.
to see
That's
the actual
that
move.
scene in particular. The thing that bothers me is that
No impact.
The thing that bothers me about that is that even though it's kind of weak, you still get it. Like he's looking at his reflection, then he has to say out loud, or he has to remember out loud the whole, if you're nothing without the suit, then you're nothing. And I was like, you just fucked up this scene.
Yeah.
I think
still
visually writing and stuff like that, it was fine. It was okay, but just like
Yeah.
if like a more competent, not saying he's not incompetent, but a person who's more visually inclined would just understand basic visual knowledge. You have to see the exteriors of what he's building,
Yes.
Yeah,
or what he's
yeah.
moving to see this visual stakes.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like Tobey Maguire going, as he's lifting
Like,
up
can
the
you?
thing.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
exactly.
2.
Can you imagine? Yeah, like either that scene where he's like, he's stopped. Yeah, you're talking about
He's stopping the
The
thing
entire
from falling off
wall
the
from
train.
the
Yeah,
warehouse,
yeah.
the warehouse wall,
or like or the train where he's like stopping the train, but you don't see a wide shot of him
actually stopping the train.
Which
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
best Spider-Man scene of all time, by the way.
So it's
Yeah.
like,
He's just a kid, man. That is a 45-year-old man. Like, sir, my bad.
but then so that's why I was like okay with like the all amount of villains because I feel like I trust that what they're gonna do, right? And they had it's the longest running Spider-Man film.
Even then, it, like I said, it surpassed my hopes of how they were going to handle them,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah, I agree.
specifically with
Green
Green,
Goblin.
Goblin and
Yes.
Willem Dafoe.
'Cause they don't show that
boy.
much in the trailer.
No,
Which is good,
yeah.
very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
because like okay,
They made it seem like Doc Ock was gonna be the main.
yeah. Right. Like I thought, like all right, it's gonna be mainly Doc Ock then or something. Although they did show him like in prison and the thing, so I was like, well, how's that gonna work? But like whatever, they show Green Goblin and they tease him at first a little bit, and it's just like what the fuck, and then he shows up and he, of course, has his Kylo Ren moment.
Yeah, he has this Kylo Ren moment where he destroys his mask.
And then he like walks off, and it's like what are they gonna do with this? Like, where is this gonna go? And they set it up perfectly because he goes in, he finds Aunt May, he's talking to her, and it's like he's sympathetic, like she's like trying to like work with him, like she's like, no, we have to help this man.
Yeah, because he's basically DID, dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, exactly. She's
Yeah.
like, he is lost. Like, this guy needs help, like, clearly. And again, like, she's like, you have to help him. And he's like, no, we gotta like send him back home, like, fuck him, you know. And she's like, no, you gotta help this guy, like, he needs it, like, you're the one who's got to do it.
And I love that scene. That's the scene of the two characters pulling the values and stuff. He was acting more like the Doctor Strange mentor.
And again, and it makes it like, and then also this film has now, I think, my favorite visualization or favorite moment of using the spider sense. Oh, his Spidey sense.
Yeah.
Like,
do you want to talk about the scenes leading up to it, or you want to just go straight to that?
Okay. So like, we know, like, so basically, Peter is trying to like he decides to fight Doctor Strange, and also I love the way he defeats Doctor Strange,
which was a math.
because he's math. It's like, it's so great.
In our notes when we talk about our favorite scenes, like that's one of my favorite scenes. Is visually. In
really
the multiverse,
cool.
it was like, and it was different from the trailer because it just made it seem like it was
just like on the Grand Canyon, like on a train or whatever. But no, it's like you see like the Grand Canyon and like the New York skyline combining with like the rocks and everything, and it's like giant fractals in the sky. And I love that, like, Peter, again, because he's a science nerd, he's like, he sees it and he's like, this is fractals, this is math, like I can figure this shit out. So
he outsmarts him. That's the only way he could be.
Yeah, exactly. Because Doctor Strange is essentially a god, especially in the mirror dimension.
Yeah.
He can warp reality.
Yeah.
So it's like, how the fuck is Spider-Man going to beat him? He does, because he just outsmarts him, just like figures out the webs, and he's like, boom, caught him up, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go figure this out. Because again, he does the Spider-Man thing of where he's like, we're gonna try to help these people.
Yeah.
And he convinces them, and it seems to work, right?
By the way, did you love that little Easter egg when Spider-Man was taken to his astral form, and then you could see in the IMAX, is you can't see as much as Dolby, but in IMAX where you see like his spider sense is like emanating from his head. I'm like, that's such a cool little.
That's beautiful. It's like, again, like you get that visual. Like you can't, like, that's another thing I love about this movie. You couldn't have done this movie without the MCU. And that's great. This uses the MCU as it should be used. Yeah, like it's like you can't have it without Doctor Strange. And you get that little moment of like you see his spider sense emanating from the top of his head. And I like that.
Doctor Strange can't grab the box.
He's trying to grab the box, but he can't because, again, his spider sense is like, like just keeping it away. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. But you can, because he's got that extra boost. And then so they go back to like Happy's apartment, and they're all trying to figure out like the different like cures and stuff. They're working together on it, because I love that, again, Norman is a scientist. He is like just as like maybe just as smart as like Peter, like, you know, and they're both just working on shit. And then I love where like Peter just has that like moment where the camera kind of like, it does like almost like a reverse dolly zoom kind of thing.
It's a jaw shot pretty much. Like the camera pushes in, but at the same time it like
the focus is moving, and then like his whole world kind of moves, and he's like,
I agree. That's my favorite spider tingle, Spidey sense scene.
Yeah, he's just like, something's wrong. Like, something is not okay. This is wrong. And he just walks around and he's like trying to feel it out. And everyone's like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. And then he just wham, he just like sticks, Norman's hand to the thing. And he's like, oh, like you or something wrong. And then you just see Norman's face. Cause again, he broke the mask, which is perfect. Cause then you see like the full expression of Willem Dafoe's,
Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin. And he's just like, that's a beautiful, like he just goes into why he's like, oh, that's so cool that you can do that. And then he becomes the Green Goblin, and you get to see his full expressiveness. And
I'm surprised he didn't web him up more.
But
I get why you couldn't, because you need the scene, because if he's too webbed up, then...
Also, he has no idea what he's capable of. As far as he knows, he's just some guy on a glider.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he webs him, and then all hell breaks loose. And at the same time, they have Electro's kind of story going on in the background where he's just like,
he's so upset. It's not just like the fact that he turned into Electro that makes him a villain. It's also like his obsession with power, his obsession with recognition. Which is great. That's an understanding of that character. He does well.
He's like,
because an improvement on the last time we saw him too.
Because last time he was like just some, he's a weirdo dude who's a Spidey fanboy who like got he's like, oh look, I'm powerful now with Electro, whatever. In this one, it's like, no, you understand. He's like, ooh, like he feels the different energy from this universe. He's more powerful than he's ever been before. Yeah, he's got the electric yellow powers. And then like he's like, I don't think I want to go back to being normal. Like, like this is working out for me. I like this. So like as they're kind of about to drain his powers, he's like, nah, fuck this, right? Because essentially Green Goblin is that exciting incident where he's like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then he, of course, turns on everybody, and then he starts attacking the shit out of Peter. And like their whole fight in is brutal. Like again, I think it should have been shot differently, like a little bit better. But I like the way that it looked, though. For the most part, like I like how he's just like he's trying to punch like Green Goblin. Like he's literally does that the what is it the Black Widow move where he jumps on his head.
Yeah,
or, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Actually, that scene I think was better shot than the scene at the end.
Yeah,
because at least you have the shots where it's like kind of tracking the different. I did like that. It was practical for the most part, like him going through the floors.
Yeah. Yes, like you see, like he jumps up, he does like that cross leg thing on Goblin's head, and he's just punching the shit out of his face, and Norman's just laughing. He's just like, like he's just enjoying it, and then he just body slams him through like 3 stories and just fucks him up.
And I was worried they're gonna make Norman Osborn like a bitch because like this guy he fought against Thanos, so he probably just wipes. No, Green Goblin is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he's tanking all his hits. And then as they're going down and everything, all the other villains are just running loose again because Electro's like, screw this. Sandman is like, all right, I'm just going to leave. Like he's like, whatever. And then Lizard escapes. And then as they're going down, and then, of course, the biggest, probably most emotional, impactful scene in the movie when Aunt May goes and she tries to like inject Norman with the cure, which probably was a dummy cure because why would he like actually make his own cure? Yeah. So then she like injects him with it, and then he just knocks her away, and then the glider just boom just hits her on the floor, and then he eventually throws a pumpkin bomb and then leaves. And then I was like, oh fuck, like she's really hurt, whatever. And I was fully expecting them to just like have her like go to the hospital and be whatever, but she gets up and she like walks away, and I was just like, oh, I was like, that's kind of lame. Like you got to have a consequence of her getting hit by the glider.
And then immediately after, one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the film.
Yeah, she gives him the line. She's with great power comes great responsibility. She tells him like, you did the right thing, and you got to keep trying to do that because that's just who we are, right? Which comes back again later with the other Spider-Man, but he's like, that's who we are. That's what we do.
And she just collapses.
Yeah.
And
she's confused. She's like doesn't understand that she's dying. She's like, oh shit, like what's going on? And he's just like, like don't worry. Like it has like that almost inverse scene from Infinity War where he's like confused and doesn't understand. It's like now it's her, and she dies, and it's like, oh fuck, like it's that big hit. We got the Uncle Ben death scene, which
and that was good. We all assumed that Uncle Ben death scene already happened, right? So he's already Spider-Man, but no, it was like Uncle Ben. I don't know what happened to Uncle Ben. Maybe like
Uncle Ben had a stroke.
Or maybe like I don't know. Maybe she never.
Maybe he just died from some guy. Like who knows?
She doesn't. Because they never mentioned Uncle Ben that much.
They've mentioned Uncle Ben.
Like that much, right? Maybe Uncle
they
Ben
casually kind of mention him a bit.
Maybe divorced or whatever.
No, I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Uncle Ben's a deadbeat.
Can you imagine? I can't imagine she's just dead to Aunt May next film. Oh, Uncle Ben's here.
Maybe he's alive and we'll get Spider Ben.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
I mean, there's a Ben Parker, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. So it's that scene that really hit me. That's one of my favorite. That's like I guess we were all. It's all the scenes we talk about. It's like Aunt May's death was like really impactful. Like I just didn't expect them to actually do it in the MCU. Where they don't really kill off many recurring characters ever.
Yeah.
But for this one, I'm like, I hope it's permanent, by the way. I really hope it's permanent.
Oh, yeah.
And Marissa Tomei also says she doesn't like playing mom on characters anymore. So she's just like, I'm good. She was like, I think like 3 or 4 in the recent like King of Staten Island. She was like the mom aunt character.
Oh, okay.
And she's just like, I'm sick of this. I was in The Wrestler, I won an Academy Award for My Cousin Vinny. What happened to my career? You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, that was great. I was like, I didn't necessarily tear up, but definitely that was like, there was almost no dry eyes in the theater. Like everyone was like sobbing a little bit. Little kids were like, "Hey, May May!" What kids say, "May May?"
And like I think most importantly too is that Green Goblin is the ultimate nemesis to Spider-Man. There's always been all these villains that like come and go, and Venom, of course, like his dark kind of double, and Carnage is even worse or whatever. But it's like no one has fucked with Spider-Man's life like Green Goblin, and even in the Sam Raimi first one, which I think is great, he never kills anyone of like serious consequence.
No,
he kills like the chairmen of the board.
Venom killed more people in the Raimi film than and that are important to yeah.
His effect is still felt throughout the rest of the trilogy, mainly through Harry, which is great. But like you know, and then of course in like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, he just shows up and then kills Gwen, and it's like,
No
okay,
impact.
I guess so. Like he just did that, but like it's more about this tragedy of like of like, you know, of
Spider-Man's
Spider-Man's-
altruism is what ultimately caused Aunt May's death.
yeah. And then this one, in particular, it's like, no, Green Goblin is definitely, he's gonna be his arch rival.
Forever.
He's definitely gonna be that person who hurt him like no one else has like before.
My only disappointment with this is, does this mean we're not getting an MCU like Green Goblin?
I kind of don't want to, not gonna lie, because there've been so many Green
Okay,
Goblins.
because you and I would be okay with.
Yeah.
What? Because obviously Peter might go to like, I guess, a New York college or something, maybe.
It meets Harry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if he meets Harry and is like, you know, your dad really fucked up my life in another universe, but I'll give you a chance, and then maybe it still ends up like going that route.
I can see
'Cause
them
I was
doing that.
thinking,
Yeah,
like,
I can see that.
is Stark Industries going to be totally fucked up by this whole thing? Like, with being, or I guess not, because they're not caught up in the Spider-Man thing anymore. Because I was going to
No,
say,
'cause everyone forgot that Peter Parker.
because I was going to say, like, because you know, Norman specifically mentions there's no Oscorp, which is kind of a shame, but whatever. I don't know. For whatever reason, I still really want to see like a Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
That could happen, just not-
I mean,
yeah.
you could say that maybe Ned is his Harry, but
Yeah.
I don't know, because I remember at the end of Far From Home, which I don't like that much. I got a small vibe that maybe this Flash Thompson was going to be their Harry, because he has that moment where he like calls his dad, and it's kind of like sad. And for a second, I was like, I wonder if like they're going to do that, because I don't know. I like Harry
Potentially
Osborn.
could kind of.
I like Harry Osborn, and as much as I like James Franco, I still feel like we've never actually gotten a proper Harry
Yeah.
Osborn. And then they announced Dane DeHaan, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get a proper Harry Osborn, and then that entire movie happened.
Go.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
disagree.
just want a really good Harry Osborn.
I disagree. I think James Franco was a really good
I think
Harry
it,
Osborn.
I think it's the
Yeah.
follow up. I think
Yes.
that
It's just what happened with the third
He had
film.
a great arc, and then at the end they just really fucked up the ending, which is
Yeah.
too bad. I mean, we have his tragic death.
It worked for a great
I
joke.
like his
and this
death.
is the
I
end.
think his death
Remember,
works
this is the end. The poster or something. The Spider-Man 3.
yeah, it's like with this one, it's like they could still do it with Ned, because like his character eventually becomes Green Goblin. And I remember in Homecoming, I was like, how the fuck are they gonna do that? Like, how are they gonna make this guy into like Hobgoblin? But now, like, they potentially could. One, just because, like, you know, dude's beefing up, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, and now that he doesn't remember him at all, it could be so much more heartbreaking
what-
later if he
imagine-
becomes a villain, and then
Exactly.
he's like, dude, we were like best friends at some point.
well,
He's
that
like, I
could
don't know what the
maybe
fuck you're
even
talking about.
be part of the plot. What if he discovers that he did get his memory erased, and then he finds
Yeah.
out like Peter never came back for him? That could be
Betrayal.
potentially
Yeah,
the
there's a lot of
motivation.
potential.
And who
That's
knows
what I like.
what if Ned and MJ strike up a romance?
Yeah,
or
which I
whatever.
thought they were gonna almost
I
do.
thought- yeah. I
almost.
thought they were gonna
I'm
do
glad
that
they didn't
too.
do it now. Like maybe in a
Yeah.
future film.
Yeah.
But then Peter Parker being Peter Parker, and universes of Peter and MJ always getting together.
Yeah,
Peter eventually gets
they're
MJ
probably
back.
I hope.
I hope they delay it as long as possible.
Yes, like just keep it away. Like we've done MJ. Like they had their whole thing in the 3 movies, and that was fine. I never really liked it that much, to be honest. I never liked the Tom Holland relationship, Zendaya, their relationship that
I liked
much.
it. I thought because they have good chemistry and stuff. I mean, obviously
It worked
in real
best in
life.
this movie. I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Like I actually really liked the opening scene where he's like, "Dude," and it cuts to her. She's like, "Dude, I'm not a superhero. What the
Yeah.
fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, she's the most capable MJ for sure out of the three.
Yeah, definitely.
And she actually knows when to step back. Unlike Gwen Stacy, who like she's not MJ, but yeah, she's like
Yeah, she shows up. It's like they could do Gwen Stacy, they could do Betty Brant, they could do they could do Black Cat.
they already
could,
have Betty Brant.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like they could step up to be like his love
I'm
interest. But
assuming
I
he'll
kind of
meet
hope
Gwen
they,
in the next movie, and they'll probably do Spider Gwen.
Yeah.
that would be my guess.
or my vote, or what I would really want them to do is have
no love interest.
Felicia and do Black
Oh,
Cat.
Black
That
Cat.
would be more
Yes,
interesting.
Yeah,
would be
because
great.
especially now, because I know we're already jumping into speculation, but I just want to talk about it. Like now
black
that
suit.
he's in the darkest place he's ever been, arguably the darkest place that any of the Spider-Men have been so far, like completely alone, like just heartbroken and whatever, and he's now just trying to pick up the pieces of his life. This could be the perfect entry point for someone like Black Cat, who is that like moral, like gray character who kind of pushes him towards a little bit darker shit, but she's not like full darkness or whatever. And so it could be a really
work.
interesting story for him to like have to deal with this like getting a little bit more dark, but we'll get into that.
I'm
Yeah.
a little sad Flash Thompson's going to MIT because I thought that could be interesting if like he went to a New York college and they become friends. Like
It could-
Well,
it
Boston
could
and New
be.
York is not like I've literally taken the train not
I
too
know.
long ago.
I do for whatever reason. I just want more of this Flash Thompson. I like him. I find him interesting.
Well, yeah, I love Tony from Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, he's a
actor.
great actor too. So there's still a lot of potential they have
Spider-Man's
with him.
my
He was
boy.
great in with French Dispatch. Yeah.
That's great.
What's it called? He's it's cool. I like to see, and he is a good modern interpretation of that character. With
Very
that,
different take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if a
Wouldn't wanna
modern
fight him
Flash
either.
will probably be like that.
He doesn't
like-
look like a fucking 50-year-old man. I wouldn't want to fight me neither.
Like in the Sam Raimi
Help him,
version,
Harry. Which one?
in the Sam Raimi version, he was like perfect for that movie or whatever. But they
Like
never.
He's 30.
But they
He
never.
looks like he's 30. He's
It
like
makes sense.
he looks like the what's that fucking movie Dear Evan Hansen? He's like in the Dear Evan Hansen
Oh, yeah.
outfit.
Like he's fine for that one, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't have quite
Yeah,
as
it wouldn't
translated
in
well
this
for
one.
this one. Flash in the Amazing Spider-Man movies was just kind of there.
Yeah, he just kind of
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot they could do with him now, which should be cool.
He's I think he's played by the son from Leftovers.
Is he
Yeah, Kevin Garvey's son.
for an Amazing
Yeah,
Universe?
yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's how like they
Some
fucked up with
people,
the Flash
some people,
Thompson.
that's their favorite Flash.
That I don't understand that
No,
at
that
all.
doesn't make sense at all.
lot of people
It's fine. I
have
mean,
said
there's
that.
like some people like eating cottage cheese off their dick, but like it's weird. You know, it's fine. You know, whatever they could do whatever they want. So okay, let's get back into the film.
Yes,
So.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about the character development for all the characters, and we did like that, and the Green Goblin. But let's get into the meat of the thing: the Spider-Man scene.
Yes.
yes. Holy shit! By the
Okay.
way, that scene in the theater when they all came in, even though I knew it was coming,
Yeah.
it's like when I saw that, I don't know, I got chills.
I
Yeah,
thought
I
the
got
Andrew
chills.
Garfield one was done well, but can I say this? I'm sorry. As much as I did like Tobey Maguire in this movie, I thought his entrance wasn't like as cool as it should have been. He kind of just like walks in and is like, "Oh, hey guys,"
Yeah, I kind of agree a little bit.
I do.
because
Yeah.
I thought I really liked Andrew Garfield's. Where like because immediately I think all of us knew I was like, "Oh, that's Andrew Garfield's costume."
Yeah.
he walks up. I thought his was really like cool, and then like I don't know. I just wanted his Toby's to be a little more visually interesting.
Right, like
Yeah.
I was
And just
expecting like
more cool.
like the camera would pan up from the leg to the face.
Yeah.
and that would be Toby.
Something more dramatic, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just he just walks in uncostumed,
But
which is
yeah,
fine.
I think
'cause
that's
he's the
also
older one.
like
Yeah.
kind of difference between him and Raimi, right? Because
Yeah.
Raimi, like if you just look at how the characters are introduced, they would be like a tilt up to like Willem Dafoe's face,
Yeah.
or the camera would zoom into Otto Octavius,
Yeah, huge
Or-
moments.
Yes, or like the camera would like it would be first like if there's no camera movement, it just be like you first just see like maybe like a hand
Yeah.
that's recognizable as character, and it cuts to their face.
And this movie, again, it's a cinematic event film because like
Yeah.
you could hear the audience like they were just going wild
Yeah.
for a lot of those moments, and most of the time I was surprised at how much restraint they had for like certain moments. But like when Andrew Garfield steps out and you first see him like through like the portal
Immediately
and
people
dark,
are like-
he turns around and you see his big eyes or
Yeah,
whatever.
everybody
And
knows.
everyone's like but like again, not everybody exactly, but as soon as he steps through and you see the costume and he takes off his mask, people went wild. And then when Tobey Maguire steps through, like even though I think they could have definitely shot it better, like
Yeah.
again the theater erupt. It
know
was
what's
like
weird?
There was like this dude who stood up and he was pounding his chest like a gorilla. Yeah, Toby.
You know what's so fucking weird for me? In my theater specifically, people went ape shit for like for Andrew Garfield and went excited, but not as excited for Tobey Maguire. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
I don't know.
That's
being
weird.
said,
That's
that
weird.
being
Yeah.
said, though, I'm just gonna say this. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Andrew Garfield stole the movie for me. I thought.
He really
He was
did
good.
come
I
in
he was
thought
really
he
good.
was by far my favorite part of this movie.
And okay, so like when I was watching this movie, I was like 2 or 3 seats away from this kid who was
Oh, yeah.
sitting right center stage, and I fucking love this kid so much. He was all decked out in his spider gear. He had a hat, he had the mask, he had a shirt and everything, and like he was just eating up the entire movie. And it's funny because as I was watching this movie, trying to just watch this movie felt like a struggle because the preview started and whatever, and then the
Oh, yeah, you
projector
told me.
fucking broke down,
Yeah.
and we were an waiting an hour to even just start the movie.
You had to
And
watch the Morbius trailer 3 times.
we watched it 3
Yeah.
goddamn times. They showed the fucking Morbius trailer, and it was so funny because this kid who I was growing so impatient. I'm a man. This little boy, like, he stood up at a certain point, like, as the trailers were happening again, and we're watching the 96th AMC like trailer. He stood up and he literally was like, "Let us watch No Way Home!" Like, he was so hyped up. And then, like, as this movie was unfolding, and Andrew Garfield, he was cheering and shit, and I was just like, I don't know, man. It just
Oh, and did you just tell me like when Tobey Maguire got stabbed?
Oh
by
yeah,
Green
as
Goblin?
when he gets stabbed, that fake out stab, which I think honestly was probably my biggest whatever. I was like, what? I felt so pointless.
That was
That
They
was
were
just
never gonna kill
weird.
off Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I
too.
thought they
That
were
would've
gonna
been
kill him
better.
at first, and I was like,
remember
oh,
for a second-
okay.
I remember for a second being like, that's going to be really bold if you kill off like the favorite Spider-Man in this.
Yeah.
But
I would have not liked that.
I don't know what
No.
the fuck the point of that
I
was.
don't know either, really.
No.
But like when he gets stabbed, the little kid was like, "No, that's the best Spider-Man!" Like,
He knew what's up.
He was cheering, yeah, and it just like it got me emotional.
Yeah,
just
same.
seeing this kid like so excited because it just brought me back so hard to like when I was 8 watching this. I had the same emotions and everything. I was like, oh man, this is why these movies are important. I know people shit on them because they're like big budget, whatever. I'm like, but these
For our
these
audio only
films-
listeners, Miles raised his
yeah,
hands.
it's like these films.
I also shit on these a lot.
They are saving the movie theaters.
They
They
are.
are saving fucking cinema. I know it's like Dune is a landmark film. There, French Dispatch is fucking great, whatever. But it's like
Titan.
what's gonna draw people in? What's gonna make people fucking love these things and the buzz before and afterwards? And it's like everything. It's like there's nothing like it, man.
An
and
MCU
it's
film, yeah.
it's like there's nothing like it. And
It's-
I'm
As
sorry.
Paul Thomas Anderson said, like he admits himself, like, look, I think I made a great movie with Licorice Pizza, but let's be honest, what's gonna save the theaters is Spider-Man. So stop complaining, enjoy the film. I'm gonna watch it opening weekend.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm team cynical. I'm with Miles. I prefer the Titan.
And that's fine.
Chris.
And that's
boycotting these
completely
movies,
fine.
by the way.
But
I'll-
the reason why
what?
you're going to be able to, why people are going to be making
I'm
those
aware of-
movies,
I'm aware of
and
the
people are going to be
economics.
making
No,
licorice
I'm aware
pizza.
of the economics.
Yeah,
I'm aware of the economics.
it's
I
not-
just
look,
Are
no,
you?
but I'm
Look,
beyond.
I just want the theaters to get there, and the actual production companies to come out and be like, no, this is what you're gonna watch and you're gonna like it. And
It's
have
impossible.
really good
You can't
movies.
just take the
you're gonna,
audience,
you're gonna
right?
watch
Yeah.
Titan and be miserable and fucking love it. You
Yeah.
piece of shit.
I'll
That's
say
what I
this,
want to
I
happen.
wasn't miserable. I had such
I love
lots
the
of that
Titan, by the
film.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about it.
I'll say that. I'll say this with. I agree with your point on this. Is that like, it's not the studio's fault that they're making these films. It's,
Yeah.
If you're complaining about like not being enough adult fare or challenging affair, it's blame the audience. It's true. Like as much as this shit to say, yeah, they're the ones who they're the ones
Who are buying the tickets and watching this.
and because they're just and they're sending the message to studios that these are what I want to see.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with wanting to watch a fucking Spider-Man movie in the theater and have it blow your mind and have some fan servicey shit, whatever, man.
Fan
It's
service
like,
the movie.
But again, it goes beyond that, which is what I love. It's not just like, we're not talking about Rise of Skywalker here. We're talking about like this movie that handled
Somehow
these
Palpatine has
characters,
returned.
respected them enough
Yes.
to have them actually like have arcs and have good storytelling and have good like character moments and have it like be written well.
Can I
It's-
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because for me, I think that the fact that Spider-Verse was made kind of takes away from this because I think Spider-Verse is a better movie.
I would agree, that
but
I
they're
think
so
Spider-Verse is a
different.
better
I
film.
know,
But
it's like one's
it's a
animation, one's live
similar-
action. There's just so different mediums.
I know. But I just think that like Spider-Verse was a better version of this concept. And I think that if Spider-Verse didn't exist, I would have liked this a little bit more.
I could see that, and I do agree that I think Spider-Verse is a better film
Yes, I agree with that,
overall
yeah.
and
Spider-Verse is a
everything,
better
and it's a
film.
great thing. It's again groundbreaking technology for the animation and the artwork, everything. It's so good, but like this one, it's like what makes it so special is the fact that we have like over 20 years of a legacy of live action films that kind of
bring
that
it
can
in.
be brought into this, and they bring that emotional weight and depth that we felt with these characters.
Exactly,
We
I
cried
agree,
with
100%.
we cried with Toby. We cried with with Andrew Garfield.
With Gwen
maybe.
Stacy.
Yeah, with Gwen Stacy. We just with that part.
Did
And
anybody
then
cry?
like and we felt it, and then we get to like have the resolution and even the redemption a lot of these characters. And it's like you don't get that with the animated one because it's not
There's
that
no-
it's a completely different
Yeah.
beast, and you can still have them both. And I love that now we have these two Spider-Verse movies.
Yes.
There's the live action one and then there's the animated one. And they're both really good in my opinion. Yes, I think Spider-Verse is just a better film overall. But like this movie, it couldn't exist in animation, and it wouldn't have nearly the same
No, it
impact.
wouldn't, because
weight.
it's
What if after Aunt May died, they started playing Raindrops Keep Dropping on my head? and I
like,
see Tom Holland walk down the street.
by the way,
we
we talk about the use of music in this film. They, I think, again, showed really
Yes.
great restraint, but they had those like the Sam Raimi like
Yes.
music, Danny score like come in
I
like
did like
in
that
good
one moment
times.
where they used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if they used Andrew Garfield's one. I don't know if
he
they
doesn't
did.
have a straight theme. I mean, James Horner did. Oh, who tragically passed away. After a lot of people have passed away. Actually, that's kind of weird. The
That is
composer,
really
the
weird.
screenwriter, and the producer had passed away during the Andrew Garfield era. And James Horner was like, he was a freak accident. He's the guy who made the score for Avatar, Titanic, Aliens.
Yeah, great guy. Just I don't know what happened with that Spider-Man movie. It's like the music just
he
not
died
nearly
at
as
like
good.
a plane crash.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
They didn't
sad.
bring back Electro's score.
He
betrayed me.
I swear they did have like a
They
slight.
did have a slight moment.
Yeah,
Yes,
a slight
yes.
moment where it was like boom, boom, the dubstep shit, and I was like,
let's just look
"Whoa."
at the score. Like, if you guys want to go to cheat sheets real quick for the Mark Webb Spider-Man one,
Yeah.
let's just read off how many people did the music for Amazing Spider-Man 2, how messy that film was. Hans Zimmer, Pharrell Williams, Johnny Marr. Are you really like John? Okay, Mike Isinger, Junkie XL, Steve Mazzaro, and Andrew Kaczynski. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit!
What a mess.
Before someone else brings it up, I do have to bring up my favorite moment of the movie because someone else is going to bring it up before me. It's the one moment that made my heart that pumps black sludge and hates everything Marvel and just sits in the corner and complains about everything. The moment where Andrew Garfield dives and saves MJ brought light inside of my heart.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to bring that up next.
That was my favorite part easily of the whole movie. And I love that moment where he starts to tear up and MJ just goes, "Are you okay?" And it's like she couldn't even possibly understand.
Yeah.
and that
it's
was a great redemption of that character.
great way, and they set it up well from earlier in the scene
When
when
he
like
brings it
Oh,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me talk about. That's my favorite scene in the entire film.
That's
Yeah.
easily one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
So after Aunt May dies, and he's on top of the school, right? You have the other two Spider-Man that come in and they talk about their own loss
Losses.
from their tenure as Spider-Man.
And they each bring, exactly. It's like that's where I think it saves it. Where it could have just been fan service to have them both in this movie.
But they have a strong narrative and thematic purpose of like redemption, identity.
Andrew Garfield
What's it
brings
called?
that
Prevention
rage
of
and
fate.
the anger and the sorrow of losing Gwen, and is able to relate that to Peter in this one. And then same with Sam Raimi or with Toby, who he basically killed the guy who killed Uncle Ben, you know,
Yeah.
and he's able to speak to him from his point of view, be like, dude, look, I've been there. I know what it's like.
Apparently, they're also hinting that I was reading this at Reddit and some interviews that they're hinting that Andrew Garfield later, I guess, once Kirk Connors become the Lizard again, that when he stopped pulling his punches, that he actually ended up killing Kirk Connor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, that makes sense. I love that he does it. He's like, listen, man, like I went dark. Like I wasn't pulling my punches anymore. I had that rage. Like I went down this path like that I don't want you to go through. Because he's still a kid, and again, he's like, I think we're trying to help him, you know, like genuinely, and it's just like that's what's so great about it.
It's very strong emotional pleas.
Yeah.
God, that scene was just like even though it wasn't shot like amazingly, but then like the writing. Once again, I give a credit to Eric Summers and Chris McKenna, who understand this character well, and John Watts, right? I think
they did have one really cool shot though, where like they're both like on top of like the building,
and they're
they're like
down.
silhouetted by the moonlight, and then they eventually jump down. And then I like that like Peter like jumps up and he's kind of like ready to fire something because he just obviously went through something so awful. He's just like, what the fuck is next? You know?
I think that was a good shot, but I think like it could have been.
Yeah, it's not amazing. Yeah, it could have been a lot better.
It's like if it was Raimi, right, it would have probably been like closer, like a more dramatic angle. And stronger.
If it was Raimi, all three of them would have jumped in front of an American flag.
I mean, they were fighting on top of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. So it's like, and weird thing is the best camera work. When we get into, I guess let's just finish up kind of this and talk about the ending, and let's get into the technicals and if any, that's many of my criticisms go into. first, what do you guys think about Ned? Because he's actually the one who brought them in. That he has magic and he could do it. I was like kind of okay with it. I wasn't the biggest fan, to be honest.
I didn't know how much I liked the bit with him and his mom, like joking
Yeah.
around.
No,
I was
Leia,
like,
Leia, she's Filipino. She
Yeah.
absolutely loved that scene because she was
Yeah.
like they're speaking in Tagalog actually.
I know I've seen other Filipinos on social media really be excited about it, and I think that's fine. Like I think like it's fine. It was funny. I just think that it went on for a little bit.
Yeah.
Too
My
long. Where I
biggest
was like,
problem is it
okay,
just feels like a
it's-
very uncinematic place to introduce Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Like, it worked for the Andrew Garfield one. Not because it was like amazingly cinematic. I just think it was like a weird place in the movie, a perfect place to bring him in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe this would have been too fan servicey. I just wanted Tobey Maguire's entrance to be like him to swing up or something, which I know
Yeah.
might have been a little bit too much, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Just him, the fact that he kind of just awkwardly walks in, hey guys, like it's very like, I get that maybe it's even in character for him to not be the cool Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like the like little moment of where you got to see Andrew Garfield's like personality as Spider-Man, how he's like he's
I
a
have
little
the
quippy.
tingle. I have the tingle. I just don't do it with bagels.
Yeah.
He's like, and then he's like, prove it, crawl on the ceiling, and he's like, I'm not gonna crawl on the ceiling. And then he just jumps up and just holds himself up with his fingers. He's like,
enough.
That's enough. Okay, like I don't know. Yeah, that was fun. I like that part.
I also love them making the cure at the lab.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Any scenes with Toby and Andrew were fantastic.
Yes, I loved
Yeah.
all of them. Just like
Toby and Andrew had the best chemistry in the movie.
Yeah.
yes, I said that's one thing I really loved was just seeing all three of them like hanging out and just like talking about being Spider-Man, you know, like
Yeah.
where they're and then also just being science bros. Like I liked Andrew in his little lab coat. I liked Andrew riffing off like Toby, who's just like, are you gonna suit up or are you gonna look like a youth pastor? Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then they're just like they're working off each other, and even the later moments where he's like cracking his back and everything, and then they're like
Andrew breaks it. Yeah.
yeah, they're
back.
joking around, and he's just like, "Hey, man!" Like, because again, they kind of shit on Andrew's trilogy, like they're poking fun at it a bit. He's just like,
Spidey 3. Yeah. Or Peter 3.
yeah, and
I
then
love that I don't know. I like that this movie kind of feels like an apology. I love that whole.
You're amazing, man. You're amazing.
I love that. I love that whole quip where it's like, you know, I fought like this weird alien goo thing. He's like, I fought an alien in space. I want to fight an alien. I fought like a Russian guy in a
rhino.
robot rhinoceros suit.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's like,
sorry,
I wonder if
Andrew.
that's ad lib or actually is from the thing because he had a problem with that and apparently Amazing Spider-Man 2 in an
Sorry,
interview.
your villain sucked.
yeah,
What's it called? And then they do redeem the character a lot. They do, what's it called, and a lot of self-love, a lot of chemistry, and they resolve. Hopefully, if we ever get another Andrew Garfield anything, in the Spider-Verse,
I'm hopeful for it.
Yeah, like now it's like they set up the fact that he's gonna move on, right, from Gwen Stacy. Like he sees MJ, he gets the advice
Yeah.
from Toby, which is great, and then we get some confirmation that Toby and what's it called, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and MJ have worked things out.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, which is great. They're probably married, right?
Yeah.
No ring
Yeah.
on his finger.
I was honestly expecting him to be like, "Yeah, I have a kid now" or something.
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Or did he lose
Aunt
the
May's
ring?
definitely dead in his timeline too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that he's talking to like when the villains are talking to each other, like that Doc Ock and Norman Osborn, like they're like Octavius, and he's like Osborn, and they like know each other, and then like the stuff like again each of the villains were there for a purpose. They each provided information. Sandman tells him like, no, Doc Ock, you
both
died
died.
too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
both of you guys died.
And that reveals the point that
Yeah,
that's
and
their
then
fate.
eventually, like Electro is like, yeah, dude, like Goblin, like, or Lizard. He's like, he doesn't die, but he's there to just to bring in that extra like the exposition, but it doesn't feel exposition-y because it
Right.
adds to the stakes of the film where they're just like, you guys all die, and that's like a really big deal.
I don't know if this is would be considered a nitpick or not, but so I do like how Sandman comes up, and because he's on good terms with Spider-Man, he's like,
Yeah.
it's Flint Marko. Do you remember me? My problem with that is technically right before Doc Ock dies, he's good. You know what I mean? Because Doc
Yeah.
Ock, of course, has the hero death where he just says, you know what, you're right, this is batshit insane. Let's drown this thing.
Yeah.
So wouldn't he? I know that he's the inhibitor chip and everything.
Oh no,
Yeah,
they pulled
but-
out Doc off before his redemption moment. Remember,
Okay.
he
Yeah.
says that he was having Peter at the palm of his throat.
But why?
What's it called? They
How
pulled him
come,
off at certain
everybody, how
points.
come everybody else like got pulled right before their deaths?
No, Green Goblin 2 didn't get pulled right before he died either. They are all pulled at different moments because like it's unpredictable nature
But
of
I think
the
it's fine.
multiverse.
But I do love they have that again where Jamie Foxx's like personality shines through. He's like, I was doing fine, man. I was fighting Spider-Man. He was like overloading his thing, and he's like, oh shit. I think I was about to die. He's like, oh man.
I really like that part, and I do like the fact that like Electro and
Sandman.
and Sandman. Yeah.
Did they pull Electro from a universe where his character was good?
I think they did.
And then what's it called? And in Sandman, I get it that you couldn't have Thomas Hated Church. You know what I mean?
That's one of the
Yeah.
biggest shames of the movie is that he's sand the whole time.
Yeah, probably because like one, he
Yeah.
didn't look like how he
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and two, it's probably just. And when we get to criticisms,
They couldn't get
about
the actor.
You know, I mean, he voiced everything apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
there. He was
It's
very
cool.
enthusiastic.
I was surprised they got the dude to be the lizard again.
Oh yeah,
I forget
Mr.
that
Fonz.
actor's name. Yeah.
Mr. Fonz. Yeah, who's gonna be in Kingsman as Rasputin? I'm just kind of curious how that'll be.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just a shame, and yeah, it's probably because he doesn't look the same. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
He
just
looked old in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
to be fair.
It's just a I don't know. I just found that
He was
kind
like,
of
yeah, he was pretty. I was watching that film again. He was like really fit. Apparently beefed up for that role.
That's great. And he was like, he looked like Flint Marko. Like you just
Yeah.
peeled him out of the
Hey,
comics. It's
Spider-Man,
great.
it's Flint Marko. You remember me?
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, I get that. That was probably more for
Remember
the
that
audience.
sand guy you battled?
Yeah, it's more for
That's
the.
me.
It's more for the audience.
I'm
than,
Spider-Man from
the other
Spider-Man
ones.
3.
And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But I let that slide.
Tobey Maguire should have been like, I forgive you
Because
again.
when I was watching with Leia, she didn't know she forgot who Sandman was. Oh, that Flynn Marko or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
He's wearing his green striped shirt.
Okay, so let's and let's quickly go into the ending and then let's get into technicals, right?
Okay.
So the ending, actually, we pretty much talked about to death, but yeah, I do
Yeah.
like the way it ended. I
It
do
sets
like
up a more interesting
yeah.
trilogy for sure.
and I do
Yeah.
think like when we get actually let's probably say that for speculation.
Rent.
Rent.
All right, let's get let's get into technicals. For me, I think this was technically the better of the best of the three.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, but ironically enough, it's like, John Watts, all the scenes with the live action characters, I thought were kind of the weakest visually. But anything with the you could tell pure CGI visual elements. And I think like if you guys ever saw the video visual effects breakdown, either from Corridor Crew or they would have it like from like certain type of tech insider, is that a lot of these visual sequences happen years before the movies are made. Yeah, like they pre-visit, they work on it, and do it, and then they have like sometimes they're lucky enough they have the story ahead of time, and then they're able to work in tandem. But sometimes they have to make the story work with the previs that they make.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's
I
why you
see.
could tell with some of the films there's like some inconsistent quality. And this one, I think it probably worked out the best. Yeah. And then because Kevin Feige he's always like, I think it was like 2016. He was like, I have films planned up to 2024. So
Yeah.
I think he always has an idea. So it works out for most because he, once again, master architect, master plan. It's good to plan stuff ahead of time. So I think all the pure CGI sequences had the best shots in the sense where like the camera zipping through and you have the camera track the three Spider-Man as they follow in, and that's because like John Watts probably has like the least amount of creative like because it's already made, right?
Yeah.
But whenever it's like what's called the editing choices or was it live visual action, like I talked to Ron on the phone when Willem Dafoe's face is first revealed for the first time. That's really fucking big.
Yeah.
It's Willem Dafoe as Green fucking Goblin.
Yeah.
Like he was barely in the trailers, right? Like that's a perfect moment. You do a tilt up. You show a little bit of like like his armor and him struggling, and then his going to his face and going back and forth. Like Sam Raimi did it excellently, where he's talking to the mirror, going back and forth, and it's like reverse shot in the best possible
Yeah.
way, and the camera moves. It's super dynamic. This guy who understands visual language.
Osborne.
Exactly. But this one is just like it just cuts to it.
Yeah.
And then it just breaks the mask, and it's like okay, like it's like the most basic coverage you could do, like, with no imagination. And then, what's it called? And then there's some other weird things with like the three Spider-Man when they're talking about the organic webbing. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was just like the dialogue was fine and stuff like that, but none of them felt like they were in the same room together because it was all and as it got leaked, right? Like Andrew Garfield's against a blue screen. Which, by the way, good blue screen.
Yeah,
work,
I was
by
gonna
the way.
say that's like probably the best version of that I've seen.
Yeah, they always have good blue screen work for the most part.
Yeah, but I
unless-
guess I just from my experience of where it really stands out is like in Arrested Development they do something like that.
Oh, yeah,
it
that's
looks
just very bad.
awful.
Or
when they
that-
did that in like what's it called, Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
where I was like that looks pretty bad too. Like it wasn't terrible, but it looks noticeable.
Yeah.
And this one I didn't notice, but I mean it did I guess feel a little flat, but
because they're
yeah.
all singles, right? They're all single shots. And
Yeah.
you barely have a wide shot of them like together,
Andrew
right?
Garfield's been pretty busy, man. He's
yeah, but in the sense that like probably, but he's with Toby so much, right? They were able to get the availability with him, and also I think it's like maybe more with Tom Holland's availability because he shot Uncharted like right after.
Yeah.
Which I think that was a mistake on Sony's part, both Sony films, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably should have gave more time and availability, and that kind of fucked up with the shots. But even then, I also think like, I mean, they could have done things where like, they framed it in a way and they just comped him into that scene and they just timed the action. There's ways to do it, right? But they took the lazy way out. It's like single, 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 single. And for any comedy directors, like the best way to do it is that you have the camera track the person as they're talking in one single long take, or you have a wide shot and your forefront, back front. And it's just like, it almost feels like a film school student or something.
Yeah,
Right.
there are a lot of flat moments.
And then and I was super disappointed by that, and also just like I said, but the blue screen work was good because you guys know, and Nick Fury barely met Tom Holland on Far From Home at all. That all his scenes were comped in.
That's kind of wild to me because I didn't really pick up on that.
Because no, it's like they always have, like, ILM has great comping abilities, and were they able to shoot them against green, blue, or brown screen in Dune. Dune is better, but that's what. But I think or that's ILM or whatever. But and they're able to comp them in well. But and also like and then Chris Stockman brought this up in an interview, and I kind of agree with him. His review was just like when Willem Dafoe, you see that turn, right, and he's being Willem Dafoe as fucking Green Goblin, right?
Yeah.
Why is the camera just not lingering on him, right?
Yeah.
Or why is the shots just like shot, reverse shot, cut to reaction, shot, cut to reaction?
Yeah.
Like if anything, like
Should just stayed on him.
it should have stayed on him, or like if he's since he's Green Goblin, he could probably break out of the ribs, break out of the spider web.
Yeah.
Like you could have, like, that would have been perfect time to have the camera just follow him, track him as he's talking to each one of the villains, and have him, and you see the reaction in that one take as he's talking. And he's trying to convince everybody to join his side. And it's just like super lazy, where it's just like you're cutting away from the best part, fine, and you're not finding. But I get it. You need the reactions from the other villains to see them being slowly seduced. But that's like the worst and most lazy way possible to do. Like I'm ashamed almost, like, seeing this. I'm like, it's like, how'd you get to this level? And with this amount of budget that a fucking A24 indie director could do it like 10 times better.
Yeah.
Like it's, and I'm shitting on this film a lot, so you might be surprised by my rating later. But what's it called? I'm actually more in line with Ron on when it comes to my overall thing.
Man.
And even the final fight between, ultimately I liked, because the acting was good, and you could tell Willem Dafoe, by the way, he's the MVP. He fully commits to the physical action of the role. He looks very fit.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. And he looked pretty old at certain shots or whatever, but
But he's always looked.
It wasn't distracting.
No.
It wasn't like, oh wow, they got like just old, because they obviously like DH like Alfred Molina and stuff. But I think they did a pretty damn good job at it. Like for the most part, like again he like noticeably looks older too. But like again, I was able to just push it out of mind. It's like it's fine.
Yeah. And what's it called? It's like the editing was just like, it was someone looked like he has epilepsy while holding the camera between the two fights. Some of the punches didn't like enter the center frame of the fucking screen. Yeah. I'm just like, what is this happening? This is supposed to be a fucking amazing fight between them, where it's a pinnacle for that character, where he's physically exacting revenge on this character. It's supposed to be vile and visceral, and visceral does not mean shaky. It doesn't mean shaky. You could have like visceral camera movements, like the Raid, when it's what's it called, Top Dog versus the two main characters, right? Ego and the brother.
But it's like surprisingly steady and very clear.
Yeah, very clear. It's just like the movement conveys the visceral part. But this one is just like they convey it by like shaking the camera's arm, like the guy holding the camera operator is like they're probably kicking him in the back, like more shake, bitch. And then like it's probably like working for Activision. It's like. And then there's also, I think, like way too much CGI in this
Urban
film.
Meyer.
Yeah,
that's a football reference. I don't think anyone's gonna get.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. Yeah, so ultimately, I think, I think that was a bummer for me to watch. I also like the CGI. It's like they use that too much as a crutch for a lot of these scenes, instead of like you
Yeah.
know they built out some sets like the Sanctum Sanctorum and stuff like that, but you know more sets would have been nice. Like a more more practical stuff would have been cool because it would have immersed me better. But luckily there was enough there. So these are gripes. Actually, at the technical stuff, it's probably my main criticism, and that's why like I'm hoping he's evolved by Fantastic Four, like he's improved and stuff like that. Because let's look at the cinematographer for the MCU Spider-Man films that he made. So I mean, so ultimately it's just like I think I agree with Ron. John Watts should move on from something else.
Yeah.
I mean, if he comes, he needs to step up his fucking visual game. That's why, like, even like literally in the post-credit scenes, we'll just talk about the Sam Raimi, the teaser that in like 2 minutes had more visual imagination than the entire fucking film of this film.
Do you guys
this
find
film.
it weird that it was just a straight up teaser?
Yeah, and I was fine with that.
It reminded me of I don't know if you guys remember this, but The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is of course a Sony movie and not a Marvel movie, that had a post-credit scene, but it was a trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
theater was like, "What the fuck? It's just an ad."
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they couldn't have just had like
I think because the official trailer will be different.
I know, but
Because you know the Avengers
know.
trailer at the end of Captain America, they
Yeah.
never released or they've released it that like in special features.
Yeah.
But that they never did.
I know,
right?
but they couldn't have just had Doctor Strange walk into like I don't know the mansion and then just have evil Doctor Strange show up or something. Like,
Yeah, they
No.
could have done something.
A little more
I agree that,
creative.
I was
It
like,
feels a little
this,
lazy.
I was like, this is cool that there's like a teaser or whatever, but I was expecting more. But at the same time, I don't know. I
it
was
was
like,
cool
whatever.
you actually got 2 minutes worth of footage.
Yeah, I was like, this is like,
that's to a scene.
yeah, I didn't particularly love it or hate it. I was just like, okay, whatever.
it is what it is.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
if anything,
Teases
the,
evil Doctor Strange.
the
which is
Venom thing at the end,
Supreme Strange. Yeah.
that was
He's not
kind of
evil.
funny, but it was very obviously just there so they could have the symbiote be
suit.
in this world.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, let's
I
get
was
back to technical. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about the
Yeah,
speculation for a bit. Yeah, so yeah, the shaky cam was the shaky cam was shit. Yeah, the shit. Yeah, don't stop with that shit. It's not cool. Like literally, Shang-Chi came out like 2 films before. I'm like, you really just couldn't have any of that fucking cinematography come over to this film?
Yeah.
Like wait, like so okay. The guy who made the first the cinematographer for the first Spider-Man was Salvatore Totino, who did Cinderella Man, which had pretty, handsomely mounted film, right, visually.
Handsome.
Yeah, and then Matthew J. Lloyd, he's done a lot of, assistant camera work for other things. So his first major cinematography, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page or anything. But this one was Mario Fiore, who did Training Day and Avatar. And Avatar, regardless of what I think of the film, like at least when it comes to camera movements, framing, and stuff like that, I mean,
Yeah.
it was leagues above what we got
was
in
a-
this film.
Technical marvel.
Yeah, and so it's just like you're wasting talents like this with
Yeah.
whatever you guys decide is cool. And I get it, you guys want to leave room for improvisation and stuff like that, because like Marvel, they have a thing which I'm not the biggest fan of, because sometimes it affects the visuals.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it does improve character stuff, right? For them, that's the most important thing. But they're always editing literally until like 2 days before the film is released,
Yeah.
which I think is not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like people like what's his face?
Like James-
the best version of that is like James Gunn, of course, with like the Guardians and
Yeah.
stuff, where he understands how to use the improv and everything there,
Well.
and then also can still match it with like the visual
Yes.
that which are like
Yeah,
fantastic and everything.
He said it's like there's not even that much improv, surprisingly, in his film,
Really?
where it's almost all scripted.
No.
Yeah, because he
he's
just
also
has-
a really good writer.
Yeah, so it's just like I don't know, trust your script, and I get it. You want to always tweak into shit like that. You want to make the best possible version, but like
It does suffer in the visual
Yeah.
department because of that, for sure.
even like a Thor Ragnarok. Not to get too into it, where like I really really like that film, but the dialogue scenes were shot like pretty poorly, just shot reverse shot, and it's just like a lot of improv shot, because also Taika didn't write it. He actually just improv most of the
Is he
shit on-
writing the next one?
Yes, he's
Good.
helping
I
writing.
really, I'm kind of like iffy towards Love and Thunder like I don't know, like
Really? I'm super excited.
I was gonna say my hype has been building up more for it, but like
Just simply having Taika coming back to Thor is instant hype.
yeah, that's like really cool. But yeah, finding out that he's actually writing it this time and everything, that definitely piques my interest more too. So like, and also aren't the Guardians gonna be kind of involved in it too? Like,
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited for it, but that's another conversation.
So, and you know the editors. I mean, they use the same guy, Lee Folsom Boyd, and they had Dan Lebenthal, just MCU guys. I'm not the biggest fan of their editing work, but to be fair, they also have like a momentous task because they shoot hours and hours and hours of random shit, and they got to decide what's go. And Michael Giacchino, he did the incredible Star Trek 2009, Up, like a great composer, and then. I mean, it's fine.
Incredible says like the best Pixar score
ever. I think that ties with Up for me.
Yeah, I mean up to. I mean, he did both of them.
Yeah, he did both.
But
So
like The Incredibles for me is just in terms of like their
it's
action score.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Fucking amazing.
So like, even Star Trek, like the dun dun, like it's like.
Yeah,
just,
he knows what he's doing.
What is it? The best thing he got is bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum. Really?
Yeah, which is fine for early Spider-Man, but it's like, yeah, now
This
I
is
want a fresh take.
$250 million film.
Yeah.
$250 million film, and Lighthouse costs like $3-4 million.
Yeah,
music than
it's like
this.
the Spider-Man music shouldn't be fine. It should be
amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
It should be like, oh my god, yeah, like get you extremely hyped, and with the bum bum
And
bum
also
bum.
the bar has been set pretty high.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So it's really hard.
Yeah.
It is really hard. Honestly, I'm not against them. Just I was gonna say like they just use Danny Elfman's music, but it's like they shouldn't do that.
No, no,
It's
no.
like
They could have used it a little bit more
Like-
in this one specifically, but not
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, and that's why I
Yeah.
like the music for I think Black Panther. What's it called? Worked the
great.
best because you got Ludwig Göransson,
Yeah.
who's an absolute beast, and he's like
It's easily the best score of any Marvel movie.
yeah, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you can tell he's like, and he doesn't come back for because Michael
Killmonger's
Giacchino.
theme.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like regardless of what you guys say of the film, the score, hence it won best original score.
Yeah.
I think
and the
was
music
killer.
in Into the Spider-Verse, incredible,
yes.
so fucking good. But it's so like specific to Miles and
Yeah,
that movie and
exactly.
everything, like the glitchiness
Yeah.
and the music for the Prowler was
Yes.
so cool.
Dude, I
Intimidating.
love
There's like
that.
an elephant theme, in the background. Boom, like it's so good.
It's like I don't know if there's like a thing because I think with like Black Panther, Ryan Coogler had a lot of creative sway and stuff, except the CGI, which he got fucked over.
The rhinos.
Yeah, and the
the Ronalds.
yeah, he mentioned. I mean, like they hinted at that, but
Marvel has a bad track record with rhinos.
My brethren.
yes. Okay, I was just saying. But back to this. It's just like
For context, Ron looks
think-
like a rhino.
and then he had a lot more creative control and over the music. So Michael Giacchino, I'm curious. I don't know. Maybe he did. I'm not even the biggest fan of his Doctor Strange theme.
No, I do love that the fact that it's like a harpsichord theme, and like every time it shows, you hear it, it's so distinctly
It is.
Doctor Strange. It's like
I just wish it hit harder personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Like I mean, it's one of the better themes.
Yeah.
But it's still.
I just feel like the MCU in general, like the only like score that's even like become kind of iconic as the Avengers. I just feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. I feel like other
Oh,
movies have done
and the Black
such,
Panther stuff.
and the Black Panther. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just feel like other than that though, like there really isn't that many scores from individual movies that really stick out.
No,
Like,
like the Guardians music is great,
But it's
that's
not
usually
really. Yeah,
licensed.
but
Yeah.
that's
Licensed
yeah.
the
music.
licensed
Yeah.
music.
Well, I mean,
is
they did
used
have
perfectly.
They did
but-
have the great music video with like
Like,
the
what the fuck?
70s and stuff.
Like,
You guys know what
you
I'm talking
could-
about?
Oh yeah, at the
Yeah.
very
Like
end.
if you were to name an MCU character besides Killmonger and like
Black Panther.
and Black Panther, like, and tell me what's their score sound like, I'd be like, I don't fucking know. But you
Yeah.
could name a bunch of other movies like
Oh, you know what though? I was gonna say Ant-Man's score for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like for the trailer, it had a
Oh, the
really
trailer.
good score, and then like in the movie,
No,
it
it's just- it's
like
just
wasn't
disappeared.
there. Like I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what a
what the
waste.
fuck is Captain America's score? I don't even
Oh,
remember.
I know.
but
It's
Captain
a genre.
America- yeah,
it's,
he has
a
like-
good score, but drowned out by bad choices.
Yes, like he has a good score. It's like a soft trumpet kind of like dur, 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 dur. Like
Yeah.
it's like I can't do it right
Loki,
now. But
you know what? I'll say Loki has a pretty solid theme. For,
he?
Yeah, no, from the
Like the
Loki
TV
TV
show?
series.
oh, the TV show. Yes, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Like it's like I forgot the
Oh,
xylophone
okay.
thing.
Again, it's not. I guess now technically it is MCU.
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
does have a great
Yes.
score.
Yes, which
Yes.
by the way,
Well,
they used
actually-
him perfectly in this movie.
We'll see. The
He's in and he's
Daredevil
out.
character and like because spoiler for Hawkeye, right? I don't want to say it because you haven't watched it, but let's just say that they bring in certain characters
I've
from
heard
the Netflix.
I've heard some things, but I still don't want to hear it.
no,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some things from the Netflix show has popped up.
For sure.
So we'll see whether that's. But then, based on what they're doing on that show,
Yeah.
makes me actually believe that this is like the MCU version of that character, and they're not considering that canon.
Okay.
Yeah, which is I'm fine with.
Yeah. Either way, I love that they brought back Charlie Cox as Daredevil.
Oh, fucking
I mean, he was
awesome.
beloved by
I'm a
anyone
great
who
lawyer.
watched that show.
Yeah, explain that still.
Yeah, it's like he's great. He's fantastic. I liked it. The theater erupted when he came out.
Yeah. But again, like they didn't overuse him. He wasn't like just there. It's like he didn't feel fan servicey. It's just like felt like, yeah, who can Peter?
It felt a little fan service.
No, I think it
little,
made
but it's
sense
like-
because he's
who's
like,
he gonna
let's just say
hire as
this.
his lawyer? He's got no fucking money. Matt Murdock.
Yeah, Matt Murdock is altruistic. On top of that, let's just say he did do some of the things in the Netflix series, maybe not all.
Yeah.
Like he's earned quite a bit of reputation for defending the Punisher, like
Yeah.
taking down Kingpin.
Who else is gonna be there to want to defend Spider-Man
and he also
Peter
probably
Parker?
sympathizes with Peter
Absolutely,
Parker. as
he's
another
gonna be the guy
massive
that's
Johnny.
like, yeah, I'll go help this kid. I might even do a pro bono because like I just want to help, and that's like that makes sense to me. Like so, it's
Exactly.
like that's how you incorporate that shit. Don't have Black Knight in Eternals who's just there just to be there, and it's
Exactly.
like, oh, don't worry, he's gonna be more important later.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, I get in the comics he has a connection with Cersei, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you guys have anything to add to technical other than what I said, or is it just
No,
more
I
like just
agree with you.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into, we were talking about the ending, but let's get into now speculation, the post-credit scene. So we talked about the Venom thing, which I thought was fine.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I get it. I'm trying to think of like that. I like the fact the symbiote was left behind. So I'm wondering, do you guys think that symbiote will go to their version of Eddie Brock and eventually have their Venom, or do you think
It could go to based on where if because we don't really know how he's going to deal with this because it ends, even though it's sad, it does have that like bit of optimism where it's him swinging at the end, which is very Spider-Man.
over Rockefeller
If
Center.
he is very angry, though, it could go to him first, which it should. I
Yes.
always, on the stand for follow the original, just
Yes.
Yeah.
he starts out. And then I guess I would like to see their version of Eddie Brock. As much as I like Tom Hardy, I want to see.
But they did.
Yeah.
They just
different
confirmed
I think
that Tom Hardy
unfortunately-
and Tom Holland will eventually be in a film together.
I kind of want to see.
So
it.
I'm wondering, like, will that not be? Will it be Venom 3 or will it be in Spider-Man? I hope. I want Kraven the Hunter, by the way, for the next film.
Yeah,
So I think
okay.
that makes the most sense.
So here's what I'm gonna say for like the next Spider-Man movie. I've never felt comfortable with them introducing Venom as a character and the concept and stuff, even in the Raimi trilogy, or especially not with the Amazing Ones, or with this one. You were like, "Who's gonna think of for Venom?" It's like, no, he's not there. He's not in the right headspace as a character for them to introduce this like dark side of it. But now he is.
Now he is.
He's definitely in the right headspace to go more dark side and have to deal with the issue. But I also think they should do the black suit symbiote story
you know
first.
what? That's what you know.
and
What that'd be
then
perfect.
introduce him.
So like in the next one, let's just say like Kraven is hunting him down because
Yes.
Spider-Man doing right, and
Yeah.
you could invite Felicia Hardy, right,
Yeah.
and also then
Black
trying
Cat.
to entice him there. But at the same time, that black suit will
Yeah.
put him there.
Again, he's alone. He's got no one else to fall back on. No one to like put their hand on
Can't
his
find- just
shoulder.
hire us.
He's got no one there to tell him like, "Hey, man, you need to relax" or something. He's never been in a darker place like this. He's arguably he's more fucked up than any of the other Spider-Men, in terms of like his loss. He's lost Uncle Ben, he's lost Aunt May, he's lost his best friend and his girlfriend, and he lost like Happy. He lost
And he lost his entire chances of college prospects.
Yeah, the Avengers, like now they probably know who he is, but
They
like
don't, he's not an Avenger anymore.
yeah, he's
No.
not really an Avenger. Like again,
Well, I mean, they'll remember his exploits in the thing. They just remember who's behind the mask.
yeah,
Does that
yeah.
mean they'll still technically remember him helping them beat
Yeah.
Thanos?
He will.
Yeah.
He just won't remember their like
yeah,
his
which
name.
is fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And like
It's a little weird. But
Again, like,
we'll see
he's-
how they deal with that.
he's never been in this position. He's never dealt with this much loss.
I mean,
And
this is done in the
it's-
comics too, where like, and then I guess like whenever there's information regarding his identity,
Yeah.
it was like the magic spell would just like block out the
yeah,
information.
what's the
Again.
Spider-Man one more day and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. In this one, it's like I don't think they should. The next one shouldn't be Venom. Don't do that. But like I think a Kraven the Hunter and
Kraven
Black
the
Cat.
Hunter, Black Cat with the black suit.
Yeah, and I know they're gonna do a fucking Kraven movie and they're gonna do a Black Cat movie, which like I don't give a fuck about really. But if
I'll
they
say
have
this.
them in this, if they introduce him here, that'd be dope.
After Into the
Mobius can go
Spider-Verse?
fuck himself. I don't give a shit about Mobius.
You know the thing is,
Morbius?
I am
Morbius, whatever. That's
after
what I mean.
Morbius seeing some stuff. We'll see. I mean, I'm a little dubious. It's releasing in January, which is usually
It's usually not a good
yeah,
sign.
not a good sign.
I
I'll see. We'll wait and see. I'm always trying to keep an open mind. I don't want films to be bad.
Neither do
Always.
I. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I just like everything that I've seen so far, and just
don't
my
think it looks
growing
bad.
hatred for Jared Leto.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't get
my
why.
I think he
reasoning-
fits better for that character than Apollo Gucci.
Sure, I like his design.
My reasoning for this is just like, who the fuck was like, let's do a Morbius movie.
Of course, no.
Fuck it, do
I
a
mean,
Tombstone movie. Why not?
No, it makes sense why
do a
they would
Tombstone
because
movie.
Morbius is a popular character, and then
Is Morbius a popular character?
I had
amongst
never
the
heard of him
Spider-Man
until
lore.
I saw it.
Well, I'm not saying to the general public, right? But the
Yeah.
comic book fans.
I know that, like, I
and
don't
on
know.
top
I
of
just,
that, it's like
it feels like
Spider-Man.
an odd character.
Spider-Man doesn't have. Let's just say this: like they only have Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
You guys heard of like the SPUMC? That's what they're calling their cinematic universe. The Spider-Man something
That's so
past
stupid.
the University of Marvel
I
characters.
don't know.
Whatever.
Michael Keaton's in the trailer, so I guess is what?
I don't know.
We'll see.
We
I
should
don't
stay in
understand.
touch.
Again, we'll see. I don't know what's happening there.
I'll watch it. I'll
Whatever.
like keep an open mind. I fucking watch Venom.
Oh, I
Watch
have
every
one last thing to
Carnage.
say, and Philip, you probably have the answer because you know everything. Were you guys worried at all that this could be them trying to sever his relationship to the MCU so Sony can do more Sony stuff with him?
I was initially yes, but this is like no. I knew because they had the contract and they're talking about expanding that character into more stuff, and also with Venom, at least being introduced to the MCU, like to incorporate into future stuff. I wasn't afraid of that, but I think this is like the acceptable ground of like just in case shit hits the fan that they have a escape route. But I don't think they're gonna sever it. But yeah, I get that. In this one, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. Do you guys haven't seen Venom Let There Be Carnage, right? Let's go. Have you?
No, I have not. I kind of refuse to watch. I refuse to watch like the first Venom 2. Just like I did watch it eventually, and I was like, okay, that was pretty whelmed. I was like, I was all on board for Tom Hardy being Eddie Brock. I was like, that's cool. That's a great casting. We'll see what happens. And then I did, and I was like, whatever. And then I saw the stuff for Let There Be Carnage, and I was just even more just like ugh. So I don't know, I'll rent it eventually. Maybe I'll see it when they put it on something streaming, but I'm not looking forward to it at all.
It's better than the first one. I'll say that because Andy Serkis better understanding of CGI and mocap and stuff.
Okay.
Which that's why I'm not excited for Uncharted because that director for Venom 1 is directing Uncharted.
Gross.
Yeah, I just whatever. I mean, he directed Zombieland. What happened to him? What's it called? Yeah, I don't know that thing. So we'll see if what happens with the symbiote suit and stuff like that. I'm also curious how they're gonna have a Tom Hardy, Tom Holland film now going forward.
Who knows?
Because he went back to his universe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like it would have been made more sense for him to just get stranded here.
Yeah.
And then just move from there. But like,
But also
I
like,
think Kevin Feige was like,
and also the whole point was that like he's like a character. I guess I don't know if it's a different version of Venom. They kind of tweaked the rules a bit. So the whole point is like villains who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but then in his universe there's no Spider-Man.
well, actually, they
Is there?
yeah, well, because it they do say at the post credit for the Let There Be Carnage thing where Venom says that like all the symbiotes their minds are connected throughout even the multiverse, so they have memories that are connected.
Oh wait, they never say the word multiverse in the
They say,
post-credit
well,
scenes.
they say like I think
They
they
just
say
say
like
that
across.
they'll blow your mind because we have like untold level of universal knowledge, right?
Okay.
But they never say they're connected. To
Well,
the-
I was gonna say, like, I felt like that.
I mean,
their
unless- I
excuse
mean-
was that, like, basically this Venom news. That mean the other Venoms have known as well. So then, like,
It's
just say from
possible.
Sam Raimi's verse or whatever. So, like, okay, like maybe they just knew each other. But also, I think Rosie actually brought up a good point. She said because we did talk about it. We're like that is kind of weird, but like. If there is an opening in the fabric of space and time or whatever, like since Venom is so attracted to like powerful beings, he would probably come to the MCU because it's like there's so many powerful beings that like he would want to like come in. But it's like I don't know, whatever. I was like
I mean,
kind
it
of
didn't,
like
it didn't matter for me. It felt like kind of okay, whatever.
I was like yeah, like whatever.
Squeaking in.
It's fine.
I was kind of bummed that that's the resolution for that scene. Not gonna lie, because I'm just like because the tease when I watched it and I was like, oh shit, and then now I'm like, oh.
But
shit.
I'm also really glad that because everyone was like, "There's gonna be a sixth villain. There has to be like
Oh,
Sinister
no, I didn't want it
Six
to
or
be
whatever."
the villain, but I was.
You thought they were gonna do something more.
No, I thought they're going to do something more. Maybe not in this film,
Yeah.
but just in future films to go, but like he's just back
I
in his
get
own
you, yeah.
universe.
But I was like, I know some people were like, Venom's got to show up, and I was like, man, I hope he doesn't, because he has no connection to anybody.
No.
Like, why the fuck would he be there?
I was good at he didn't show up.
Like, yeah.
And then, so let's talk about also like the ramifications of Doctor Strange, right? Like him fucking up with because at this point, like he was, he was being a little reckless. Let's be honest. You
Yeah.
know,
I thought that was a
this
little bit out of character too.
No, that's something he would do. I mean, also in Marvel's What If, like he fucking
Yeah, I think
that
destroyed
is
the
an
universe.
alternate version.
I think it
though.
leads
The
more
character
into
core
his
traits are the same though.
his arrogance, right?
Yeah.
That he thinks like, yeah, I can
He's the
pull
most
this
powerful
off.
he's been ever. He's saved the universe.
Yeah.
He's took down Dormammu. He's what's it called?
Technically, kind of helped bring down Thanos too.
Yeah. So and then like, so he's and now he's probably aware of the multiverse, what happened with Loki and shit.
Yeah.
So he's gotten very cocky, and also you could tell that he's been using this spell quite a bit, right? Like remember all the parties or events that Wong forgot. So yeah, that's in line with his character and what he'll do. He thinks he could get himself at any jam or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
he's like, I got this. So yeah, I was kind of fine with it. I do understand it is like pretty reckless, but then I think it does kind of gel more. That
with Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
And
he's arrogant. He's always been arrogant. He thinks he can pretty much do anything. And now that he's not technically the Sorcerer Supreme, but like, yeah,
he basically is. But
yeah, he's pretty much like, yeah, I could do that.
So and then so the ramifications. So we saw at the end the teaser, right, for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
that one was like I was jazzed by whatever I saw. Like the visuals for Sam Raimi looks interesting, and we saw Chiwetel Ejiofor's character come in and Mordo, right?
Baron Mordo, yeah.
Baron Mordo, and then
He's got cornrows now.
yeah, I know that's cool, and see what happens there. And he visits, and I do like he says Westfield, right? Like they directly mention what happened in WandaVision,
Yeah.
and then you see Wanda.
But like
in.
he's like, I'm not here to talk about that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me what you
He's
did
like,
with a bunch of
yeah,
town
you
people.
fucked up a town. I don't care. Whatever.
I'm dealing with
I got
the entire.
I got more
like,
shit to deal with.
So what do you think? What do you think from this film? Because actually originally this film Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out before Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But because of production delays, like it got flipped, so they had to change both scripts,
Yeah.
like completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also heard that originally this one was supposed to be about like Kraven the Hunter, like hunting him down or something.
No,
and
that was
then
a backup just in case
This one didn't-
This one didn't pan out. This was
Okay,
originally
interesting.
the plan.
Which
Yeah.
is funny because like back in the like after No Way Home or after Far From Home, that was like my pitch. I was like they should do a Kraven the Hunter thing with this,
Yeah.
but I mean I'm glad they didn't. I mean they can still do it now.
No,
like,
I'm glad they
but-
didn't because now you could save it for like
Yeah.
when he's by himself. Because I'll be honest, like techie Spider-Man probably could fuck
Yeah,
up.
yeah, he like just some guy.
Yeah.
Like, he
Well,
could've
actually, it
prob-
depends on what they do with Kraven.
That's
and
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's always about what how the execution is. But yeah, the Multiverse of Madness because it's like after Loki, after Sophie kills He Who Will Remain, a version of
Is
King the
Loki going to
Conqueror.
be involved in this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
He's been like spotted filming. Maybe they cut him out, but he's been
Interesting.
spotted filming in the series.
We got the leaks.
What's it called? And so Loki's gonna be there. Wanda, Doctor Strange. So it's almost like it's in a weird way. This is like the Avengers or like an event film or a culmination of
Like the magic users.
multiverse, right?
Yeah.
So and it's also like apparently continuing the storyline from What If, right?
That's cool. I'm not gonna lie. That's like something I've been really wanting to see since the beginning. I was like, man, I want to see Wanda team up with Doctor Strange. Like, I want to see
Yes.
her
And it makes sense.
cultivate her magic shit more to become like the Scarlet Witch. Like
Yeah.
to see her actually using magic instead of like just her really raw form of magic, which is cool. But like, it's not. I want to see more like shit. So that's dope. I'm looking forward to that, and especially them being Loki again. There's a lot of reason why he should be there just based off the Loki series, and then also because he's also a sorcerer. So it's like dope. I want to see it.
So I mean, so like with Marvel's What If, like at the end of that series, with Bo Blake and I, actually all of our favorite episode is the Doctor Strange. Like, what if Doctor
Yeah.
Strange lost?
The only good one, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The other ones had like
They're fine,
good
they're
moments.
fun.
Yeah, they were kind of fun.
They're definitely
but-
made for kids. I could tell. Like, it's definitely made
but
for
overall,
kids.
I was like, man, it's like just like
Man, the kids are going to love the Doctor Strange one.
I honestly probably that's like enough traumatizing, but not too much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like every
It's-
time that like I was enjoying an episode, they pulled some bullshit, like
I
having
just feel like,
Thanos
I
being
don't-
buddies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Thanos got like the super short hand. Like
Yeah.
first
Every episode he's in.
he was a bitch when it was what if T'Challa became Star Lord.
Yeah.
like T'Challa, it was T'Challa's bitch.
Like he murdered his own daughter to pursue his goal,
What do you
and then
think-
this one T'Challa just talked him out of it.
Just
Like,
because of charisma? Are you
like,
really kidding
what?
Oh my
that's
god,
stupid.
And then I don't know if you thought the same way. I told, and then Ron seemed pretty upset too when I told him that when in Ultra when What If
Yes.
Ultron won, he
Yes.
just instantly cut him in half with the Mind Stone.
Dude, so I was
Stupid.
watching that episode, and Thanos shows up, which I expected because I was like, well, if we're gonna follow the book, Thanos is gonna want that stone, and he shows up. And I'm like, oh, we'll get a cool Thanos fight, and then Thanos dies instantly, and I was like, he has like 5 stones. I feel like shouldn't he be able to fuck up
Yeah,
Ultron?
absolutely. It should have been like a mega fight. It would have been awesome, and like it could have been like earth shattering or something, or
and
like
then
whatever.
Maybe
but
like
nah.
Ultron, like with his higher intellect, might have been able to steal the stones.
Yeah,
or something.
they're both super powerful, super genius,
I
stone
just feel like
wielding
the
badasses.
Thanos we saw would have put up a better fight than that,
Hell
and
yeah.
probably
Oh,
would
yes.
have won.
And also, vibranium could hold the Infinity Stones better than the Gauntlet. What the fuck is that bullshit?
Like again, didn't they make a? No, it wasn't vibranium.
It wasn't even vibranium. It was
No.
Stark Tech.
Yeah.
Which also, but then
It falls apart.
It falls apart.
Yeah.
Right. And then the whole point of like that gauntlet was it was made by the Peter Dinklage character.
Yeah, it's made out of Uru metal, which is
Exactly.
like the mythical, magical, like super metal.
And they had to
whatever.
use like the heat of the sun, right? The heart of
Yeah.
like, the Titans.
And the
Yeah,
follow
the
up
whole
was
thing.
pretty lame too. I thought.
Yeah.
The last episode was just
Yes.
like,
What if the Watcher broke his oath? But I'll say this: at least Supreme Strange, he was the best part of the entire series. Anytime
yeah,
he
his
popped
episode
up,
was pretty good, and
Yeah, it was cool.
I
Yeah.
didn't. I hated the What If, and
I liked his
what's
cloak.
funny is when What If was announced, or when Ron explained to me what What If is, I was like, that sounds like a personal nightmare for me. It's a bunch of dumb nerd shit. And then I heard good things, so I was like, okay,
Good things.
maybe I'll like it. And then I watched like the first 2 episodes and was like, oh man, this is gonna be a rough viewing experience.
wait, from who? I mean, it's got like
Online, I just see a lot of people online.
it just got okay buzz.
I
You know what I mean?
heard a lot of good things. Weirdly,
I've heard like a mixed bag too of like even like MCU fans that were like, yeah, I watched a couple episodes and I was like, whatever. And
It's
that was
like-
my like again, I'll say I'm an MCU fan. You know, I don't love everything they do, but like this is one of the things where I was like, man, they could have done so much better. But,
Yeah.
like they didn't, especially when it comes to the animation.
And then they got rushed. Like they were supposed to have 10 episodes, but like they got so rushed they had to cut an episode.
yeah,
Or
lame.
something
there
like
were
that.
some aspects of the animation I liked.
Yeah, it was okay, but again, it's like it's a Disney. It's a Disney, man. Disney is supposed to be the king of animation, and it felt like they just
Fuck Disney.
they're just like, we'll just push it out, like it's fine.
I also like, there's some things I like. Real quick, because we're not gonna be a full what if. Overall, my rating, if I were just say it, it's probably like premium with ads, maybe bargain bin.
I'd say
I'd say-
bargain bin.
Yeah,
for sure.
honestly,
That's-
it's
yeah.
like
If not shit bucket.
It's
like
it's
there's some
fine.
stuff like they do that's like cool, like the Supreme Strange stuff. And the Watcher was cool, Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
And then Killmonger, I did like the fact that they actually explored because he's supposed to be hyper intelligent, both in the comics and even in the film he's supposed to be, and his political savviness and his wide depth of knowledge in all different types of aspects.
I like the scene where he killed Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I liked his line that the difference between you and me is you don't see the difference between you and me.
Yeah.
That was a great line.
It was good. And like he was actually no, never mind. He's my second favorite part of the entire series. Like that's like what I wanted from Killmonger from the original. And
Yeah.
if anything, I was like, wow, like I saw not a better version of Black Panther. Like it's like what I wish like Killmonger was more in Black Panther.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's rumors that he's coming back for Black Panther 2 as a major villain or something like that.
Don't
and then,
undermine his great.
Well, I thought
death
that
it was
scene.
an okay.
I thought the main villain for Black Panther 2 is going to be Namor.
We'll see, or maybe he'll be there as the new.
I
Black
saw them.
Panther.
Yeah, I saw them cast this one guy. I don't know where he's from or anything.
Yeah,
but I was like,
well, they didn't
he
make it
looks like he could be
official.
Namor.
Yeah, they're never official. But yeah, it's the Killmonger stuff was improved, but ultimately, like ended with Supreme Strange holding like an infinite prism of the Zola, Ultron, and Killmonger vibranium suit vying for the Infinity Stones. By the way, they also broke the rules for Infinity Stones. We're not gonna get into that. It's really stupid. The inconsistencies. And they, and that's what he is. Like the Watcher's like, okay, hey, can you just watch this forever? He's like, sure. What else do I have to do? But also, it seemed like not necessarily to turn a new leaf, but there's like a bit of a redemption for that character. So I'm kind of curious in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, like, or maybe it's not even Supreme Strange. It's actually just evil Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But if it is Supreme Strange, I'm kind of thinking what happened between the end of What If and in the Multiverse of Madness.
They could do a lot, which is cool.
Yeah, like it's like did something happen? Did he just like become even crazier with all the shit that he absorbs? And And I mean, the teaser, it personally made me a little jazzed, like pretty excited for the film. But I'm assuming do you guys have different feelings about it? Like, are you guys excited for Sam Raimi's Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange film?
I guess. I don't know.
It's enthusiasm's high.
I'm not a huge MCU guy. I'm sure it'll be fine. I like the first Doctor Strange.
I was more excited when the original director was attached
Scott
to
Derrickson?
it. Yeah, Scott Derrickson was attached to it. He sounded like he was really had like a vision for it, and he was super excited to do it. Yeah, have a horror film and everything. I was cool with that. And then when they axed him and they brought in Sam Raimi, I was like, I love Sam Raimi, man, but like it just. I don't want him to just be like doing some studio film. Yeah, like that sounds kind of lame. So I'll hold off. But right now I'm like lukewarm towards the second one.
What we got, I think, was pretty interesting enough. What we've seen,
it's interesting, but again, I'm still just like, we'll see.
Your cynicism is coming out.
It is. I'm like, again, in me, I'm like, I don't know if I'm the biggest MCU fan here, but like, I'll say I'm close to it at the very least. And I'm just like, we'll see.
Who's the biggest MCU hater? Me or Miles?
Miles.
Oh, Miles.
Without a doubt. He refuses to watch.
Yeah,
stuff.
I am boycotting Marvel and most of Disney right now, except for Searchlight. I like their stuff they do through Searchlight. So, yeah.
And also 20. By the way, I hate the fact that it's called 20th Century Studios instead of 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
What's it called? But we'll get into that later. But yeah, ultimately, it's cool. I'm curious what happens. We'll see what happens with Doctor Strange, the character, and what's going to go forward. All right, let's get into final ratings. And to make this a Spider-Man send off, let's just go through all the Spider-Mans just real quick. Rapid.
Should we hold off and just do a Sam Raimi episode eventually, though?
When like 3 years from down the line?
Whenever.
I don't know.
Slow week. I think I really want to do.
Okay, fine. I was gonna
say I'd rather
let's just do the MCU Spider-Man films. Okay, let's start with you, Blake. Just instant, just
all of them.
Just bam, bam, bam. Yeah.
Homecoming, premium streaming, Fart back.
Far from home.
Fart from home.
Far from home. Bargain bin. No Way Home. Premium streaming.
All right.
So for me, Homecoming. I honestly, I want to put it on the shelf. I don't think it's really that great, but I think Vulture kind of like he's great. He's awesome. I liked it. It was a good time. Far From Home, I'll put it like premium streaming. Mysterio was fucking great, but like for the most part, I was like, I had issues with it or whatever. And then for No Way Home, I'm putting that in the museum. I fucking loved it. I had such a great fucking time like watching it. It's like it was such a good. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. The more I've thought about it,
it's really
the more I've talked about it.
In the last 24 hours.
Oh yeah, it's like fuck, man. It's nothing that's like really compared to it. As far as Spider-Man films, live actions, nothing has gotten even close to it since Spider-Man 2, and that means so much to me. And it's like I don't know, it's beautiful. I loved it. In the museum.
Yeah. So Homecoming, I'm going to. Homecoming is premium with ads, even though I did like it. It's a film, but it's like I think visually super weak. Because like honestly, it's probably the script might be like maybe premium streaming, but the Far From Home I would put premium streaming because it visually steps up and they kind of streamlined a lot of elements. And for No Way Home, my rating is in the museum, actually.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. It's like maybe it's because of bias Spider, but I'll be completely honest. It's like despite my flaws, I literally have a page of technical flaws. Of these films, and it's probably the most flawed thing I put on the museum.
It's easily the best written one though of the three. I'll say.
Oh yeah, of the three, yeah.
Actual, there's like character growth. There's arc. Yeah. And it's like you see him become a man. I'm sorry, you go. It's your thing.
Wait, there's character growth in the Marvel film?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I think that's why I put it in the museum mainly because of it basically ends hypothetically if Tom Holland never comes back, which would be very sad. It ends 3 different franchises of Spider-Man effectively well, but also setting up a whole new branch of Spider-Man. And also like it does the whole Jedi mind trick of like it's been secretly 3 film origin story the entire time. And it has such deep respect, and and part of my requisite for the museum is how will it hold to the test of time. I do think that this film, not for like they never put this in film school and be like this is how you should shoot film. They probably go the opposite way if they do, like don't shoot it like this. But I think in terms of like Spider-Man history, comic book history, it'll
Yeah.
probably be highly regarded and probably be well looked upon by Spider-Man fans. Yeah.
Yes, and to combat Miles' line really quick about character growth in Marvel films, I'm sorry, do you not remember Tony Stark's character growth?
Yes.
Steve Rogers' character
Super
growth,
selfish.
Peter Quill's character growth, Doctor Strange's character growth. Do you like,
Thor's
I could
character
go
growth.
down the line of how many characters actually change, adapt, and learn and become better people over the course of their films.
Me and Miles go
But-
to our art
whatever.
house theaters in full suits.
Hey, I
while we
love
have
I love art
I'm
house
sorry,
films,
don't
too.
thumb up your nose at me because you think you're so much better because you watch fucking art house movies. So do I, okay?
Yeah, I watch.
I know. I'm just fucking with you guys.
I know.
I love getting like a haute bar or
Look,
like
you
a French
dumb nerd
restaurant.
shit, and I like cinema. It's fine.
It's like you know, you go to an Italian restaurant, you get like pasta d'aglio and stuff like that. You like getting that stuff, but every once in a while, I want a really good In-N-Out burger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, no, I would say that it's more like
gonna say
Taco
McDonald's?
Bell.
No,
yeah,
no, no,
Taco
no.
Bell.
You know what?
is
You know what's
more
ta-
than-
you know
You
what's
couldn't
Taco-
even say Del Taco.
You know what's Taco Bell? Jupiter's
No,
Legacy on
no,
Netflix.
because
That's Taco Bell.
The,
You know what I
the
mean?
thing is, Taco Bell will give you like the shits and stuff, and that's kind of how like Marvel. It tastes really
No, no,
good,
but the
but
thing-
it
like
gives
Big
you the
Macs.
shits.
The thing is,
I like
you know?
the thing
Oh
about
my
it, it's
God.
like let's just say like our house, a lot, not all our house cinema, but let's say licorice pizza is like something like licorice pizza or Power of the Dog is something like a 3 or 5 star Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
You can have that, but it's very expensive. You got to be in the right mindset and also, you know, financial status to,
Yeah.
to eat at that place. But
I can
with-
put on Antichrist any time of the
what's
day.
it called?
I'm sorry.
and it's
being
great.
A,
And
being
the-
a fan of the
Well,
MCU
let me
is
finish.
more
Let
expensive
me-
than being a fan of
let's just say
fucking
this.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Let's just say that. Oh, wait, no, not really, because we spent quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm gonna be watching 72 millimeter film, which there's nothing
72
wrong with
millimeter,
that,
yeah.
by the way. But I'm just saying.
But once again, like, you know, maybe if every once in a while you want to eat fast food, like hence that's going to be a plot point in Spencer, by the way. You just want fast food. This is probably the better fast food that you could get. It's the In-N-Out of fast
It's Five
food.
Guys.
Yeah.
It's In-N-Out. It's like it's really good
Yes.
versions of something that
It's a
you know
roller coaster
anyone
ride.
can enjoy and eat.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But really quick.
All right, so now we're going to get a call from our illustrious graphic designer, Rosie.
Yes.
Make sure you put it really close to the mic.
We'll do.
Hello.
Hey Rose, you're on speaker right now. Okay, so do you want to give your rating for No Way Home?
Oh, really? Oh my God. Okay. I thought this wasn't happening. Okay. All right. I'm ready. So, No Way Home. Drum roll, boys. It is 1,000% in the museum. I don't care what Blake says. He's wrong. All right. Like, it is in the
You
museum.
don't know what I rated
It's
it.
amazing. The build-up is insane. They did it so well. It just speaks so much to our time and our people, and the way they handled villains. I mean, come on. I wish I could have been there for this episode because there's so much to say. It was
All right, hang up the
phenomenal.
It would have been a blessing. Are you saying it would have been a blessing to be killed by Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin?
Hey, if there's one way to go out.
That's a way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first time in any Marvel review we have 3 in the museums from Marvel.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah. Okay.
So this is either the greatest Marvel film of all time, or you guys have lost your fucking minds.
I was gonna say this. It's
I don't know, man. I think if we had rated Infinity War, I think there would have been multiple in the museums for that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Mind you, I haven't seen this movie yet, and I would have put Infinity War in the shit bucket.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You're
Let's
just-
That's a
move on.
discussion
Enough
for
said.
that.
Enough said.
Even
Okay.
I like Infinity War.
Even he likes it.
All right.
All right, guys. I gotta get back to work.
All
All
right.
right, thank you,
Rosie. For
Thank
your
you,
call.
Rosie. And that is Rosie,
course.
who is our graphic designer.
Hey.
Absolutely fantastic job. A round of applause for Rosie.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Hey, real quick. I love you guys.
I love
I love you too. Okay.
Yeah,
bye.
Oh, that was a reference to the movie. But
I
it's
know.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, thank you. This is ultimately wraps up our episode for Spider-Man.
Spiderman's.
It's this is a very passionate panel. So passionate that our sound mixer decides to remain silent.
I felt it was best instead of shitting on a movie that I hadn't seen because I'm boycotting
Which I
it.
respect.
Yeah.
I respect.
yeah,
I
that's
respect that
fair.
for not shitting on the film. But yeah, just to end off the thing. Like I said, there's a place for both roller coaster rides and art house cinema.
Yes.
It's like you need both to survive. And and also like I like both. You know what I mean? I do. Like I said, but you know, if I were to be completely honest, even though I put it in the museum, this film's not in my like top 10 or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I do like it and want to see it
Frozen
again.
burritos of cinema.
I just hate how unrealistic all the Marvel films are.
Wait,
Well,
there,
all right, we
okay,
don't have
okay,
time.
okay.
Not getting
All
into
right.
that.
Thank you guys for another episode of Half a Clue movie
Merry
review.
Christmas.
And what's called, stay tuned for our next episode.
Yeah, please. What did you guys
Yep.
think about Spider-Man? Let us know. What twists and turns and shit did you like? Did you love it? Did you hate it?
Yeah.
Were there certain things that you didn't like from it or that you wished were there or not? Just let us know and like and subscribe because
Thank you.
we appreciate all you guys listening. Like, it really does mean a lot. So
Yes, thank
yeah.
you.
And just remember, we don't have to talk about Marvel again for a while, so you guys are going to enjoy our next episodes coming up, I'm sure.
Yeah. What are we talking about? We have an hour episode coming up soon.
What?
Hawkeye.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.